Hello and welcome back to the ARK of E Podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard Brothers back with your 2x2 retro reviews for the month of July.
And it's fitting
hot month of July. It is
it's
very
scorcher.
humid today.
Yeah.
Appropriate for at least one of the movies we're going to be talking
Yes,
about. The other one's arguably a much colder film. I don't know which order we're going. But yeah, to remind everybody, who, I'll be honest, we didn't get a consensus vote, so we had to make an executive decision.
Yeah.
There was no, clear front runner from either of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we made our choices. And we're talking about Wild Things from 98?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And first Kubrick movie ever properly discussed, I think, on this podcast.
I believe so, yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Because you talk
from
about
the grand
The Shining
old year
a lot.
of 1999. Yes, but we've never done a Shining episode.
Right.
Specifically.
Yeah, I don't think any of our episodes have been Shining.
Anyways, yeah. Wild Things and Eyes Wide Shut.
Good pairing.
We were trying to stay in the erotic thriller zone. The Summer of Sexual Seduction, as we had talked about before. And Gavin was trying to continue the Florida vibes.
Of course. Always on the Florida vibes.
Yeah. And I thought it was a good excuse to talk about one of my favorite directors. Excuse me, not one of my favorite directors.
Yeah.
And his last movie. So that's what we'll be discussing. But as per usual, we take long gaps in between recordings at this point. So what have you been watching? We'll do a little catch up, and then we'll get into the reviews.
Well,
sound good?
Yeah.
Is everybody on board with that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
What do you want me to start with? Because, TV's going to pretty much be the same. All caught up on Dave. Loki, obviously.
I'm one episode behind on Dave. Again, we'll kind of just go through that one when it's over and talk about it. We both loved Loki.
Finished all of I Think You Should Leave.
Hell yeah, season 2.
Yeah.
What's your verdict?
Oh, on what?
Season 2, to me, just as strong, just as great as season 1.
Of course.
Loving it. I don't really know if there was I felt like the moment for this one was a little shorter than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a couple days there where I was seeing a lot of fun memes and stuff, but maybe people were still getting to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I loved it. Loved every second of it. My favorite, non-him is definitely the, Shark Tank-esque show.
Oh, yeah.
All I do is spend all of my money on wine. She is great, dude. Yeah. She's the copier girl in the first... Santa brought it early! Santa brought
I loved all the bits where he's just self-deprecating. I was a fucking piece of shit. I was a piece of shit in an old life. The baby's looking at me and
sloppy
steaks.
The other one, we've been through it twice now.
Oh,
but
God.
the one that got me and Veronica the most the first time through was the Dan Flashes sketch. Not only the first office scene
but
with the shirts, but when they cut to the actual Dan Flashes in the infomercial for the towns at the creeks or whatever.
Yes.
Because
everybody's
the thing that
on
made
it.
me laugh so hard is they're show go check out this cafe, blah blah blah, and then they show they show the signage for Dan Flashes, and it's so modest. That is the thing that made me laugh harder than anything. And then they cut inside, and it's pure chaos. Dying.
It's everybody.
I love a good pattern shirt.
Getting ready for a fight, just on edge.
Yeah.
the
one guy who's trying to pay and just hands his entire wallet.
Yes.
Oh,
he's
God.
saving his food money for shirts.
Some great stuff. Yeah.
Dan Flashes has a great shirt.
We've been here for 10 days. Are you going to tell everybody that I housed Gary's Burger? Okay. I could go on forever, but the last one, I think it's John Early from, he's on Search Party. He's put on a bunch of stuff, but the credit card roulette.
Oh, God.
I'm not paying for it. Yeah. Oh, fuck, I should have lied. I should have said a reason why I couldn't pay. Not to say I couldn't do it. Okay, we got to stop.
Yeah,
We're just
we could literally do an entire, 3 episodes of that shit.
Episode. Yes, fantastic show. We love it. Huge thumbs up on season 2, of course. Yeah, we loved Loki. Did you check out the new Kingdom?
No, I didn't.
Episode / movie. It's essentially a movie, dude.
I forgot the date it was coming out. If it's up now, I'll definitely check it out.
I watched it a couple nights ago. It is fantastic.
Okay, good.
Prequel, but then ties into the events of the end of season 2 in a very interesting way. I thought it was phenomenal. Highly recommend. And highly recommend Kingdom. If you haven't seen it, I honestly think this episode is like a great starter kit. And then you can go back, because chronologically, it fits in there. And you know the show plays a little bit with like time and stuff. We've seen that a bit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, yep, that's Kingdom, Ashen of the North, or Ashen of the North. Master of the Universe, Revelation, the Kevin Smith reboot. I've checked out the first 2 episodes. I'm digging it. We didn't like grow up on Masters of the Universe, more the Dolph Lundgren movie than the actual animated show. Mm-hmm. So I don't have like this attachment that a lot of people seem to like. There's some haters online, but overall, most people are like, "Oh, the show's fucking cool." And I really dug the first 2 episodes. Great voice cast. But I'll let you know more when I've seen more. Huge recommend if you haven't watched any of it. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Via FX, I think. Cho Show?
Huh.
With David Cho. The artist. Did you ever watch any of Ugly Delicious with David Chang on Netflix?
No.
That is the first time I ever heard or saw David Cho. I had no awareness of him. He's apparently very famous / infamous like visual artist, entrepreneur, etc. He did artwork for like the Facebook offices when they were first starting out, and as part of his payment he accepted like shares essentially.
Oh god.
And of course basically like they said when he cashed out it was like $200 million or something, and they were like if he had held on to those today they'd be worth like 1.9 billion or something like that. But anyway, so he got famous because of that too, because he just like had he had like an infinite pool of cash. He's had substance abuse issues, crazy life, etc. The show is him interviewing different celebrities for the most part, with the intent of painting a self-portrait or a portrait of them while he's like he does the interview.
So he's doing it in the moment. Okay.
Yes. Super interesting. There's only 4 episodes, and it is so jam-packed. The pilot alone, like Veronica and I were completely floored by. Like afterwards, we're just like, that was a half an hour. Like, how did he get all? Just the amount of creativity on display.
Right.
The themes it's dealing with. Like, I don't even want. You just need to check it out. You would love it.
Okay.
Yeah, Cho Show. The Cho Show.
Gotcha.
I checked out the new American Horror Stories. So they're doing it, every episode is like a single thing now. The season of this is an anthology. And I guess the next season of the proper one is coming like later this fall. But this is like a little I don't know if they did this because of COVID and they like needed to do like a bottle sort of thing. But I watched the first 2. It's a 2-parter. And it references season 1. It takes place in the murder house, but it's a new story sort of thing. It was okay. It's a little wobbly. I haven't checked in with the show in a while, but this was enough to bring me back where I'm like, oh, okay, you're telling me I don't have to commit to a full season. Each episode's going to be something new. That's interesting. So I'm going to give it a few more, but I've only watched the first 2. I
watched Freak Show when it came out, and that's it, dude.
That's the season. Really... I tapped out fully on Hotel, which I never finished, but Freak Show was the season that broke me, where I was like, this is not good anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only one I watched because it was Juniper, Florida.
But yes.
So that's it.
Okay. Did you check out The North Water?
No, I need
on
to.
AMC Plus.
No. Is it all out now, all the episodes?
I think we're up to 3 as of, or maybe 3 comes out tomorrow night. Let's get 5 total, limited series. You got Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Our boy Stephen Graham.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, is that right?
What was he in?
He's played like every mobster. He was in Public Enemies. He's on Boardwalk Empire. He's been in a billion things. He was just in The Irishman as Tony Pro. It is Stephen Graham. I'm almost positive.
No,
and
he's
then,
Blackstock, 2 Smoking Barrels.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's in Snatch, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But now I don't even associate him with being a Guy Ritchie guy initially because he's so just his own thing.
Oh yeah, no,
but he's the go-to to play American gangsters and play them flawlessly. He was George. I'm pretty sure is he George Wilson in Public Enemies?
he's Babyface Nelson, isn't he?
Babyface Nelson, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Peaky Blinders, Pirates of the Caribbean movies, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jack O'Connell, Unbroken, Startup,
Oh, he was in Taboo. I forgot about that.
But yeah, it's about whalers in like the mid 1800s. Super intense show. Don't really know where it's going, but it's kind of just, desperate men doing desperate shit, and bad things are going to ensue. Colin Farrell's he's in total like Ray Velcoro mode. You need to check it out. He's a very intense individual in the show.
Okay.
I'm loving it. But yeah, that's on AMC Plus. So if you want to do a trial, maybe you wait a week, and then you'll be able to watch all of it within the month that you have it. I think Amazon has a special right now. It's 99 cents for a month of AMC Plus. So, and you can watch Gangs of London while you're on there. Great show that we loved from last year.
Of course.
Okay, that's pretty much it on the TV front for me.
I watched. I started not too long ago. Within the last 2 years, there was an updated modern retelling of War of the Worlds with Gabriel Byrne. I remember watching episode.
Totally skipped it.
And I checked out because I was like, I want to see where this goes. And I never I don't want to, we all share Prime. So I'm afraid to save some things because part of me is is there a way to me to make my own profile so I can watch stuff without you knowing? Because everything I watch on Prime, you're going to see that I watched.
I mean,
I know you don't, but I still
necessarily. Yeah. As long as you remove it from the watch list afterwards, I wouldn't know.
Right.
Or if you don't ever add it to the watch list.
That's the thing. But if I don't add it to the watch list, I forget about it, and it's
exactly.
It's a paradox.
Talk about a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Really tough decision.
Yeah. Such a terrible problem to have. But I don't know if it's AMC or Starz, who it is, but there is an updated,
probably like a BBC Co-Pro.
But I think it's through AMC now. But it's an updated 2020. But it's in the 1800s. It's their take on War of the Worlds as the novel would have been at the time, turn of the century, all that kind of stuff. I don't know any big name players. I'm trying to think. The Doctor's really important. I can't remember who plays him. Not Tim Roth. Who's the other one? Who am I thinking of? Is it Tim
Spall?
No, he's. No. Is it Carlisle? Robert Carlisle?
Begbie?
Yeah, I think it's him.
28 Weeks Later?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a modern...
That's your boy, dude. The Beach?
Yeah. Daffy, yeah. But I've watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm going to actually finish this one because I like that it's a period thing, because Bex kind of got me into Downton Abbey for a little bit, so I was like, maybe. And
you did really call it, though, now that I think about it. I'm like, yeah... What? Tim Roth kind of ate Robert Carlyle's lunch in terms of they were probably like this for a little bit, and then one kind of pulled away. I think they're about the same age, right? Roughly?
Sounds about right.
I'm thinking so. Okay.
Yeah, Robert Carlyle.
So War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Did we need another one?
Well, apparently this came out... this must have been... They came out the same time as the updated one. The updated one has a second season. The modern retelling one.
Okay.
In present day. And that's got Gabriel Byrne. That's through Epix.
Wait, so you're watching 2 different series? I'm so confused.
I saw that the updated one in modern time had a second season. I was like, shit, I didn't finish, because the first one wasn't that long. It was maybe 5-6 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. And then I started looking at it, and the next thing I know, this one that I guess came out in 2019, but is only available now for whatever, I was like, wait a minute, this is not the one I thought it was, and it was of the day period. I was like, well, let me check this one out. So I think I'm going to watch both back to back and be like, just all, because that's one of my favorite stories. It's one of the only non-Lovecraft stories that I really dig on when it comes to science fiction. There's been tons of versions of it, and it's interesting. So I think I'm going to check out and see what they do, what they parallel. Expect a full 40-page dissertation. Never.
All right. Okay. Anything else on the TV front?
That is it, my man.
All right. I'll hit you with a few new movies. A classic horror story, which is on Netflix. It's a little... I don't want to say too much, but honestly, it could be spoiled. very easily. It's Italian.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of horror influences. I kind of don't even want to say what they are. It's worth a watch. I was a little let down by where it ultimately goes. But there's some great visuals. There's some interesting points. It's a little too meta for my taste, to be honest. Just a little too much.
Okay.
But worth checking out. Maybe save it for October.
Yeah, I was going to say, I might have to do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like scary stuff that's popped up.
I was excited based on the
okay.
trailer, so I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. I finally caught The Hunt from last year, because it's on HBO Max. Did you ever watch that one?
That's in my list, yeah.
You did watch it?
I did.
Awesome.
I checked it out.
What'd you think?
Very... It's so weird because I'm thinking like, okay, well, how do they toe this line of like... where you could argue that it's like... Oh, hang on. I wanted to do that too. I don't have a drink, but I have a Pepsi, so I just want to be able to say sorry. Anyway.
You do the after you take a sip.
I do the beforehand. It's an expectation sip. Delightful. Anyway, it was weird thinking like, how are they going to do this where it's like, in my head, this is the liberal Hollywood elite making a movie about like the right wing, but
right.
also about like how ridiculous it is that the liberal Hollywood elite and like the left wing, like I was really hoping it would stay middle ground. And I feel like for the most part, I don't think it really towed one line or the other. I felt like it was like, both of you are ridiculous. Do you not see how stupid this is? But where it all went, it was just one of those like, yeah, why not? Why would you not make that movie right now? Like, of course you should. Yeah, totally. And who and all is in it blew my mind. I was like, oh shit. Because there's definitely people and I'm like, oh, hey. And they're not there for that long. And then there's people who I'm like, well, this guy's obviously important because he's been in other things and they're just unceremoniously done. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. So there we go.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. More than I thought I would. Exactly. The particular highlight for me was Betty Gilpin as the lead. Mm-hmm. She was phenomenal. And honestly, I think that's the biggest crime of them having to delay that movie and then it coming out like right as COVID was hitting and just being like basically fucked over twice at the box office and having all the controversy around it. Nobody actually talked about the movie, and regardless of how successful you think the balance of tone and like all of that is, I think she knows exactly what movie she's in and is just fantastic throughout.
Right.
She's the highlight to me.
Indeed.
But yeah, I recommend it. It's on HBO Max. I don't know for how much longer, but
I think till the end of the month.
Check it out.
Did you watch Space Jam?
Hunt. I sure did.
What'd you think?
It was all right, man. What'd you think?
I really loved that they took enough time to take me through all the different Warner Brothers universes to pick up the tunes. That was probably my favorite bit.
So you liked all of the IP just being like,
yeah, of course, why not,
blasted into your eyeballs.
Of course, if you're gonna look, this is
here's my biggest gripe with that little section you're talking about. Spoilers for Space Jam: A New Legacy, available right now on HBO Max. They're going by all the planets, and like it's pretty obvious like what most of them are, but like they have to announce the Matrix. Mm-hmm. Like with the title card essentially for the Matrix,
right?
As opposed to, I was like, I would get it. Like you got the green numbers, you got the red and blue pill floating. That was a very odd touch. It was like, anyways. The
only thing that would have made it better if they'd have gone in and it was like whatever they're doing for this new Matrix movie at the end of the year, they stumbled upon them mid shoot for that. That would have been hilarious. That would have added to it.
I did love the Jordan joke.
Oh, God, yes.
Hardest I laughed the whole time.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, guys.
I tried to keep in...
I love that he's...
I tried to keep in mind...
Shutting it down.
I tried to keep in mind... This is for kids.
Yes.
This is for kids who were the age I was when I saw it originally in Japan.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't allowed to go. You're in timeout.
Yeah. Not because I said...
And I lorded it over you.
Not because I said the F word in front of all the neighbor kids, but because I had a D in 3rd grade.
Okay.
So, I have a natural aversion to not like it. I love Space Jam, but my initial viewing of like, I can't see this. It
was all tempered by
fucking
Noah gets to see us before me.
So bad, dude.
Anyways, trying to keep that in mind the whole time. It was too long. It was way too long. I was a little disappointed that, like, in trying to, like, basically advertise all of their other... It's basically a giant advertisement for HBO Max.
That's what I was going to say, dude. Like, this is the perfect one to give people for free.
And then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know, it was also kind of an advertisement for all of this shit? Ready Player One. It's another movie that's just like, here's all our shit. Mm-hmm. And some other stuff that we're able to get the licensing to.
We're not Disney, but we're not slouches either. Like, we got stuff.
Is it Warner Brothers or Universal in that movie? It's Universal.
I think it's Universal, yeah.
Because you have all the Spielberg stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, why do I think Warner... Who has King Kong? Because isn't King Kong in both of these now? No.
Yeah. There's two... There's like... Well, is
Kong public domain?
No, I think there's King Kong and then there's just Kong. Like, it's two separate things. Like, King Kong is like the universal monster, like top of the Empire State Building. Kong is part of like the Godzilla-verse thing. And Kong Skull Island. Because they don't call him King Kong in Skull Island or Kong versus Godzilla.
But he is King Kong.
He is.
They call him King Kong.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm pretty
Maybe
sure
it's two different things. Maybe he exists without IP. He is the god we all need.
And see, I'm sitting there thinking about all of this stuff when I should be watching the movie.
Exactly.
That's it is so, at a certain point, it is so distracting to have these, like, they look like when you go to buy a Halloween costume.
Yes.
And they have the person, like, you know.
Oh, I thought the Danny DeVito penguin right there was amazing. Even though it wasn't Danny DeVito. It was just
Mr. Freeze, whatever, etc. And it's just like... It's just off. It's off to the point where it's distracting. And then, of course, you're looking at the crowd the whole time because you're like, oh, maybe it'll change. Obviously, they want to show off different stuff. And you're like, no. This game that lasts like almost an hour of the movie, it's just the same crowd shots. Almost like they're on a loop, like a video game.
I love that they couldn't get anybody else from inside the NBA. So they got Lil Rel and what's his face? I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the commentators. Yeah. Because I don't watch that stuff. But, yeah, it was too long. Not enough Looney Tunes. That's what I was trying to get to. Is in trying to like blast here's all of our other Warner Brothers stuff.
Right.
To me, you lose the thread of like the pairing is the Looney Tunes and whatever athlete you're gonna have in it.
Right.
Also, don't know why it's called Space Jam. It should be like Video Jam,
Hyperdrive Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dom Jam. Bron Jam.
What'd you think of Cheadle, though? Because I had the same reaction you had with No Sudden Moves. I felt like he was having a fucking ball.
I was going to say,
he
Secret Weapon, to me, in as much as he took all of his Marvel training for acting on green screens and stuff and was basically just like, oh, but I can cut loose in this one. I thought, yes, he honestly... He kept me engaged through the whole thing.
Right.
He's the reason why I'm like, it was all right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not enough of the tunes for me, honestly. Mm-hmm. Not enough gags, not enough bits. I thought LeBron was fine.
Yeah.
Again, one or two jokes landed. Most did not. Most bounced off the rim. Or the backboard.
I did like the joke about Anthony Davis's eyebrows. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, mean, dude.
A little mean, but I mean that's it's like the one time you can say it to him, and it's you're getting it out there for real. Anthony Davis has dealt with this since he's been at UK. Like when he was in Kentucky, everybody.
I know.
He's dealt with it. He gets it.
Okay. But yeah, no real strong feeling. I'm not like, oh my god, they ruined my childhood, because I'm like, it was Space Jam, guys. Like, I have nostalgia for it, but like, it was, it's not the best movie ever made. I did feel like it was sorely missing the Bill Murray, Wayne Knight kind of like comedy chops, like another character to kind of bounce off. I wanted another real world person.
Right.
You get a little bit of that with the commentary, but not enough to me. And yeah, underwhelming.
Yeah.
But I went in with like ultra low expectations, which is why I think ultimately I'm just kind of like, I enjoyed Cheadle in it, and like there was enough bits every like 15 to 20 minutes that I was like, okay, that is kind of clever, I guess. Even though it was huge swaths of it, I also was just like, this is like mind-numbing, lowest common denominator usage of like, I'm just sitting there going like, you have access to all of this, and all you can really manage to do is just kind of like flash it in front of us. You know what I mean? There's no depth to it. There's no like, we're actually building a story around this. It's just like, we have an arbitrary setup that allows us to just kind of throw whatever we want to in the frame. But to what end? Exactly. Just an advertisement.
I think the one thing I think
their other properties.
The one thing I think you can do to save it is work in the IP more with like, yes, it's the Looney Tunes, but like whenever, spoiler alert, the son like realizes, I want to play with my dad, like he created the whole thing. How come he can't hit something on his little thing and like one of the IP from the crowd comes out?
You're asking logic questions for this game where like points are just assigned arbitrarily. No. I'm just saying, like, points and all of this shit.
It's not that. I'm just saying like that's the way you save it. Is like he can bring IP as the tunes go down. You can bring other IP that you've shown me that's just kind of existed in that background. Have them come in for like a play or two, part of the game. It's not that they do ridiculous Looney Tune shit to make all these points up. They're just subbing in random IP that you could find just for like to bank on that. Like if you're going to show me all the IP and I'm just sitting there watching it, it's one thing. But if you let me engage with it by like, somehow somebody from that audience that's part of the Warner Brothers IP is on the court all of a sudden, that to me would make it just a little bit more satisfying. But
I don't even know if I want to see that version of this movie. I don't know.
I can dig it.
Well,
to transition, I will say this. I enjoyed it in so much as when I went to go see A Quiet Place 2, I looked up and saw, Space Jam's playing here, and I thought, I wouldn't pay to watch it in the theaters, but it's still neat that I got to watch on HBO for free, minus a subscription, but who cares, So it's one of those like, yeah, I did watch that in my room, and that's probably the only place I would watch it. If I had kids, it'd be one thing. But I
wonder how it played for crowds, because the night I went to go see, I didn't mention it, the night I went to go see Pig, starring one Mr. Nicolas Cage.
Don't even say anything about
Space Jam was playing in the same theater, and there was tons of 10 to 13-year-olds going in droves. So I was like, what did they think of this? Like, I was very curious, but I didn't stop to ask any of them, surprisingly. Just went and watched Pig, which I won't say anything about.
Please don't.
Okay. It'll be on VOD soon.
Good.
Zola is on VOD right now, I believe.
Good. I need to check that one out.
Yes. But yeah, Space Jam: New Legacy. It honestly pretty much indifferent towards like. I understand there's some people who are like really had their guns out for it. That's just kind of whatever. But again, it wasn't made for me at this point. I don't really have an attachment to LeBron. Definitely nowhere near the level of attachment I had to Michael Jordan when that fucking movie came out. And again, the other element where it's like, the Looney Tunes. I've always fucking liked the Looney Tunes. They haven't done anything in forever.
Yeah.
And then the movie doesn't really let them do much of anything. I was very let down by that. I watched, for the first time properly, start to finish, so this is technically a new one for me, Carlito's Way from 1993, because we did Scarface last month for our 2x2. Thank you to everybody who checked out that episode. And I wanted to do, it's Pacino and De Palma, 10 years after Scarface. Very different movie. About the same length. Might be longer, actually. I can't remember. But I'd never seen it start to finish. I caught bits and pieces of it on like TNT over the years.
Of course.
But good. I definitely would go in the flawed masterpiece category, where I'm like, just a few little tweaks there, and you got. There's so much to love and like about it, but there are a few things that are just odd choices, odd edits, but then some masterful shit like that final subway chase / shootout is It's pretty remarkable.
Did they do a prequel with Jay Hernandez?
They did.
Okay.
And Diddy or Sean. I don't know if he was just going by Sean Combs at that point, but
you know what I love about
and
that.
And then Luis Guzman is in it, but right. I don't think he's Pachanga. I don't think he's playing the same character. But yeah, I really really liked it. Penelope Ann Miller, dude.
Yeah, man.
Forgot about her. And finally, on the new front, I saw Old in the theater.
No.
M. Night Shyamalan's Old.
What'd you think?
Not his best.
Of course.
Not his worst.
Yeah.
But not his best. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's new. It's only been out for a week. I know you're not going to. We'll wait till like October.
Okay.
Then I'll tell you exactly what happens in it. He just can't get out of his own way sometimes, dude. So that he's one of those people where I'm just like, you are a born filmmaker, dude. Like from a visual aesthetic standpoint, visual storytelling, you're great, man.
You can't write your own shit.
You need to let somebody come in and do a dialogue polish. You need an editor. You need somebody to say, my biggest frustration with this is all I'll say. Be very vague about it. The movie reiterates its points and its character revelations of like them processing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
People have seen the trailers. People are like rapidly aging on a beach. Why? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's basically playing to like the lowest common denominator, the back of the audience. Like it is spelling things out in big, huge lights, like over and over again. And I'm like, you didn't used to do this. Like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, you let people come to you. You drew them in with like subtlety and at signs even. The Village, for all its flaws, same thing. Very engaging movie. Doesn't hold up on rewatch once you kind of know that, there's some suspense just completely drained out of it. But there's some stuff that, in spite of itself, still really effective in that movie. I'm even a Lady in the Water defender to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
The Happening is where he drops fully into like, dude, what are you doing here? But it's like, that's one of the best, worst movies ever made. It's so enjoyably bad. And I wanted this at a certain point. I was like, just go in that direction, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it still had a kernel of like seriousness to it and like a real thematic depth that it never quite delivered on, but kept it from like drifting into this complete absurdist like. And I think part of that is the casting, because the cast is like impeccable. Everybody's like top notch, but they are given some of like the worst dialogue I've heard in a while to say, unfortunately. But yeah, it's such a weird tonal shift to me, because it's just so many elements of the movie would be played better if you didn't just like verbalize everything that we're already seeing, and we can, if we're in it and we're with you, and like when you have characters just start repeating exposition essentially, like making sure everybody's on the same page, it kind of makes you start to think, well, these people are fucking dumb. Like, I get it. Like, you don't have to tell me again. So it makes you start to resent the characters a bit, and it makes it harder to like invest in what's gonna happen to them. It's not what you want in a horror movie, unless you're doing an act of like, these people suck, they deserve to die, and that's
like
not
a
this
Green
movie.
Inferno type thing. Yeah,
exactly. You know? Or any slasher from the 80s for the most part, where everybody sucks except for one cool chick.
How many more you think he's got left before we're just done?
Before he's
like,
done?
Before like people are just like, we will not give you money to make. No, how much? Because my thing is, Split, it was like the magic's back, baby. Everybody was like on board with Split.
Yeah.
And then when you find out Split is actually an Unbreakable, quote unquote, kind of sequel, you're like, oh shit. So when Glass gets announced, you're like, oh, he's been playing the long game. We didn't know. Our boy's back. And then when you murder every single character that you set up in these three movies, and an unceremonious like finish of like, ugh, and then there's some secret society that didn't want superhumans to exist, you're like, well, fuck, man, I don't know if I like you anymore. And then this is what I get after that. You're like,
See, I wasn't doing that at all.
no, I get it. I got both of them. I love both of them. I'll go to bat for Split and Glass and Unbreakable all day long. But I think that's what people felt. So,
absolutely.
When you come with when you give me this,
or like some people I know, I think the only people who like truly went on the opening weekend were people who were like Unbreakable and Split fans and were amped for it. Because it didn't do that great overall.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But I also think there's some people who stumbled into it and have subsequently found that movie, watched it, and not known that it was the third in a trilogy, and been completely lost. I have a coworker who specifically had that experience, like within the last month.
Wow.
And they were like, yeah, we were like, oh, well, maybe it'll come together, like make sense further on. I'm like, so so you've never watched Unbreakable or Split? And they're like, what are those? Like, well, like,
stop talking to me and just go watch
those
these.
Two guys who kind of seem like supporting characters in this movie? Well, they had whole movies about them. And then, like, the Glass guy, he was in one of them. And he was already, like, revealed to, oh, he's a supervillain. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
And that's, like, a great twist. But, now that's not going to work because you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, you can't.
But, yeah, I love those. So I think... And this one, people seem very split on. The audience seemed... yes,
sorry.
The audience seemed pretty much like along for the ride, but I could not gauge after it was over if people were like, "Oh, that was good. I enjoyed myself." And there definitely were no like unintentional like laugh out loud moments sort of thing. So it never drifted into that happening territory, unfortunately. But yeah, you don't have to rush out to see it. I think he'll get, he's working again. I think this one as well. I double check, but he's self-financed like everything recently. The Visit, Split, Glass, and this. He's self-financed / like mortgaged his home. He puts his money where his mouth is, dude.
Well, I guess if he's making his return on his investment, he's all right then.
Exactly,
which is great. But
he's doing the Blumhouse model of under 10 mil. And he's just. That's why I think he'll be fine. He can truly be making whatever he wants, which is why I think I was disappointed by this one, because I was just like, dude, you have a great premise here, but your execution seems like you're just trying to kind of like make sure everybody enjoys themselves as opposed to like really challenging your audience at all.
Or it's like you think we're waiting for the twist, so you don't want to give us a twist so that we can be like, well, this one didn't have a twist the entire time, because you think that we know you, and you can't just give us a movie. Because I'll admit, for a little bit, and then this is as much as I'm going to say about it, because can't believe we spent this much time talking about M. Night Shyamalan. For a while there, that was the thing, like the twist. Oh my God, with him, he's the master. Like that's so crazy. And now it's just kind of like, oh yeah, he had the one really good one that like everybody knows, and that what have he done for me lately?
I mean,
that's
the
about it.
Unbreakable twist is incredible as well.
Oh yeah.
Underrated, still his best movie.
Of course.
The Signs twist, I think one of the boldest twists in all of movie making, honestly, but nobody really talks about it.
Why?
Well, the twist, arguably, given the whole like setup of that movie, everybody would tell you, oh, it's the water, the fact that like they heard.
Dad would.
The whole setup there is it's the payoff of she has the thing about the water, Meryl has the bat. The last thing she said was swing away. It's the realization of, oh, everything does happen for a reason. I do believe in fate. Essentially, the twist is God exists. That's essentially the twist of that movie. And, like, he helps his kid through the asthma attack and everything by praying for the first time, essentially.
Right.
So that's the twist of that movie. It's not the water hurts the aliens or any of that. It's that essentially fate exists and he has faith in fate, and that renews his faith in God. So essentially, yeah, that's the twist of Signs. I consider it bold because I'm like, you don't think about it initially, but I've watched that movie like 10, 15 times over the last several years, and I'm like, that's the twist. And then he gets his faith back at the end. He puts back on the collar. That's the last shot of the movie. But yeah, that's the bold twist. Is like, hey, I think Shyamalan believes in God, bro. I think he's Christian. He might be.
Yeah.
He just might be. We can be done.
Yeah, we can.
We can be done with that.
Let me give you my quick rewatches and my three new ones. Besides The Hunt. Rewatch Mask of Zorro.
Word.
Holds up, love it. Rewatched The Delta Force. First time along. Oh yeah, Lee Marvin, Chuck Norris.
Lee Marvin.
Yeah, he's in the Delta Force. He's not in it that much, but he's in there. Went on like a weird Chuck Norris kick because like can't find sidekicks anywhere to watch. So I watched The Octagon after that. Just so much promise, and just he spent all of the '90s on TV and just didn't really cash in on any of that '80s canon fame. Chuck Norris.
Top Dog or
yes.
Cop Dog?
It's Top Dog.
Top Dog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's one I want to watch that it's the Hitman. His brother Aaron directs it. It is the crazies, the last dream sequence in Sidekicks, where him and Barry have the slick back hair and he's got the long trench coat. It's that. Like, he's that aesthetic in that movie. I don't know what the hell's going on in it, but that's all on the cover. He has like a double barrel shotgun. You can't find that or Sidekicks available like digitally anywhere. So you have to either like order a print from somewhere or like catch it in a random like secondhand store.
Got that, dude? I wonder how much that VHS goes for.
Yeah, that'd be.
We should convert it to a DVD and I'll sell the VHS.
Hell yeah, man. What else? Oh, that's it for all my rewatches. Besides that, so new one I watched, Arch Enemy with
Joe Manganiello.
Yes. And from there, I found, which I didn't realize, Daniel Isn't Real.
I've seen the title like 100 times on Prime.
Okay, so you know who my favorite person is? I'll pitch it to you. So there's a kid who witnesses something as a child that like causes him to have some mental health issues.
Okay.
That kid grows up to be Dave from Halloween. Don't go up there, Dave. You're gonna get killed. Like. Who to me is the second coming of the Airborne, the kid from Airborne.
Shane McDermott.
Yes, like looks like him, could be him, right?
Mitchell Goosen.
Yes, he's the new our generation's Mitchell Goosen. Well, the new generation's Mitchell Goosen.
Okay, I got you.
Right. So he has a friend named Daniel, played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, and it's just this crazy mental
Fight Club for babies.
No, it's not. It's a lot darker than that. Okay. It's really, really out there. The other highlight is the girl who is in the American Utopia, and she's also in American Honey. I cannot remember her name. She's Jessica Hyde in the American Utopia, and she's the lead girl in American Honey.
Sasha.
Yes, something around there.
Oh my gosh, and she was just in Loki as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. She was in one of the agents in Loki. She's in it. But apparently the people who made Arch Enemy, this is like Arch Enemy is almost like in the same universe, like a vortex world thing. Like they're talking like they're going to make a third movie in this sort of shared universe. And somehow that one it's kind of the same thing with the Woodward and Bernstein guys we talk about that made Synchronic and whatnot.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. They have like a shared thing. Of course, Arch Enemy is Manganiello is from another universe. He was a superpower to save his universe. He came to ours, sort of thing. And weirdly, just like in The Hunt, Glenn Howerton. He's in.
I saw him in the little teaser on Prime.
Yeah.
On the AMC Plus.
Yeah. So those two, and then what was the other brand new one I watched? Oh yeah, I technically have finished all three of the Fear Street things. If you just need a little bit of horror to tide you over until Halloween,
I think I'm gonna save them for October.
You could,
because it's gonna. I don't know how much we're gonna get. That's gonna hit.
Super invested in it, dude. It paid. The watching the third one paid off. I wish Netflix would do more shit like this. Give me 3 different things and like give me the payoff because
I'm sure with how well they seem to have done that this might be a template going forward.
I hope so. I thought all the people who were in it were great. It was great to see them in different iterations because it's not like they just kept throwing new people in. They were recycling the same core actors throughout different parts in the 70s, the 1600s, and then modern day, which technically modern day is 1994. That's the best part about it. So really thoroughly enjoyed that series. I would put that as just like I'm not gonna do 1, 2, 3. I'd do it as just Fear Street one thing if I'm gonna put it on like a top 10 list.
Right.
If it were to make it there. Finished all of those, and I rewatched The Prophecy. I hadn't seen that in years. It just popped up that it was leaving at HBO Max, and I was like, it's Christopher Walken and Elias Cotes.
And Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
Yeah. Viggo Mortensen also in Carlito's Way.
And Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
Stacked cast.
You got me the 4-pack.
I do, yeah. And now I'm like, I think I'm going to take those with me. That might be one of my things I do for Halloween.
There's a We Hate Movies from literally like a couple weeks ago on The Prophecy. We should check it out.
Yeah, okay.
Check it out.
And then, yeah, so the rest are just the two we're going to talk about now.
All right, rewatch Boogie Nights, The Guest. It's been on Netflix. And Brokeback Mountain. Oh, you're saying, and what did I think of rewatching?
Of course, come on, man.
It's great, dude. It's fantastic. Liked it even more than the first time. This was only my second time.
Really?
Yeah. I was in the mood. Yeah. I was ready to watch it.
What do you think of that soundtrack, though?
It's good.
Really?
It's good. I don't know, man. I remember the things I really like, or the soundtrack moments I really liked in it.
Which were what?
Like the whole final sequence,
yeah.
And there's a few like kick-in moments, like in some of the action scenes. I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't seen The Guest, go watch The Guest. It's on Netflix.
Everything she makes for him and all the Survive bits that are in there from like the party and like the second back half, I think are probably phenomenal. Like better than anything Survive ever put out. Well, it's technically not Survive. Better than anything the two guys put out for Stranger Things, but Survive as a whole, like they haven't really put out anything lately.
I need to listen to it in isolation because
yeah.
I think part of it was the sound mix as well.
I would recommend it.
Because it wasn't as prominent as I remembered it in my head.
Right.
That's why I was kind of like, I remember. I liked parts of the sound.
I have to find my DVD or my Blu-ray for you because that's the way to watch it. It's
for sure.
Yeah.
And I would rewatch it again in October. Great movie. Watch Brokeback Mountain. Veronica's never seen it. Cry every time. Don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It
beautiful
happens.
movie. Great movie. And yeah. The one where I don't know which one we're talking about first, but I guess it's about that time.
Would you want to go with hot Florida, or do you want to go with
cold New York (parentheses England)?
Yeah. I mean,
what do you want to do, man?
I don't know, man. I got a bunch to say about both of them. I think they're both amazing. I think we weirdly were able to find like a nice alpha and omega for this quote unquote genre we have. We found a high and low brow version, both extremely successful in their own individual ways, and both kind of capping off we'll say
a decade, because it really doesn't hit until like the mid 80s, I feel like.
But then again,
like a decade plus of.
And tell me this, honestly, maybe I'm leaving Unfaithful off the board. Do we still have these type of movies? I don't feel like we have these type of movies.
I don't think so.
And I'll tell you why.
I think they have virtually disappeared.
I'll tell you why. Internet porn.
Okay.
Hands down. You get to the 2000s, everybody's done with dial-up modems. Everybody's getting on that broadband kick. So you don't have to like go to the movie to see like anything that was going to like, whoa. Because it's like literally you type it in, you'll find whatever you want.
I feel your point. I don't disagree with you. Here's my thing, though. That is all irrelevant if you get the right stars in your movie to be naked. Because at the end of the day, if you tell somebody, hey, there's a celebrity and they're naked in this movie, and you're not going to be able to see it anywhere else, even though, of course, yes, I'm sure it would get pirated like instantly. Probably before it even comes out, you'd be able to watch it on one of those sites. But I think that still has some power. They just don't do those movies anymore. I think
they just make their own sex tapes now with the advent of the internet. That's what happens.
But post that, it's like the last big successful quote unquote erotic thriller is the 50 Shades movies. And that was kind of diminishing returns, though, right? Like, I feel like the first one was a big success because budget was relatively low, but they did, what, 2 more or 3 more?
They did 2 more. There's
2
3
more.
books.
And I don't know, I felt like the conversation around them just faded with each release, basically.
Because as they came out, people were like, oh, this is all bullshit. This is just a lady who liked Twilight, who wrote her own fan fiction, who has no working knowledge of the BDSM lifestyle whatsoever. And if she'd have put even a modicum of research into it, she'd have found that, like, that is not nowhere near anything like what actually happens. Instead, she inspired a generation of women who are like, I can find a rich guy to let him beat me and it'll be great. I'll find true love. It's like, no, you're fucking stupid. Like, there's no agency there. Like, what the hell? Sorry.
Doesn't she, like, get agency in the very last one? I never made it past the first one, but...
I refuse to talk about
that. Isn't the whole thing, like, a build-up to her, like, oh, fuck this guy? She doesn't, like, kill him in the end or something?
I wish. That would have been a better movie.
Or, no, they just, like, resign. They're just gonna, like, be married.
Yeah, be married and have a child. Yeah.
How fucking cliche.
Again, this is a woman who loved Twilight.
What movie are we talking about first?
Let's
gotta get into this.
Okay, you want to get down and dirty and do the gratuitous stuff first and go Wild Things? Because I feel like everything with Eyes Wide Shut is tasteful, to say the least.
Okay.
Okay, are you going to play me the trailer for Wild Things now?
Yes.
Okay.
And heads up, we will not be playing the trailer for Eyes Wide Shut.
It's like Nicole Kidman just standing there, isn't it?
I mean, it's just Chris Isaac mostly. You get like one line of dialogue, and then okay. I don't want to get another copyright strike. We'll spare you on the Chris Isaac, even though that song fucking rocks. All right, this is the Wild Things trailer, though, to be specific.
We've come to the halfway point of our senior seminars. Our guests today come from the Blue Bay Police Department.
Why don't we begin with a question? What is a sex crime?
Not getting any.
Welcome to the town of Blue Bay.
Hi, Mr. Lombardo.
Hey, girls.
So where's your hose, Mr. Lombardo?
Where innocence can seduce.
He started rubbing my shoulders.
Accusations can destroy.
I'm innocent.
You guys do sex crimes, right?
When was this that Sam Lombardo gave you the ride?
Did Sam Lombardo rape you?
Yeah, okay, he did. He pushed me to the floor.
And appearances can deceive.
Kelly said that we should do this to hurt Mr. Lombardo. She found out that Mr. Lombardo was in love with her mom, and that was it.
You skank, you! You know how my mom's paying you off? She's breaking my trust.
We bought it hook, line, and sinker. Now they're getting away with $8 million of Sandra Van Ryan's money.
You want my gut? There's more to this story than you know.
After tonight, the three of us not to be seen together again.
After tonight?
I was curious about how you see things working out for you and Sam and Susie.
Excuse me?
I mean, it's hard enough for one person to keep a secret, let alone 3. Especially when 2 of them are in love. You don't really think Kelly and Sam are going to share that money with you, do you?
Leave me alone.
There is no case. Get out of these people's lives.
Sam, I'm really nervous.
I need you to be there for me tonight. We gotta stick to the plan.
There's no one to trust.
You can trust me.
I'd keep a real close eye on my new friends if I were you.
She's gonna blow it. Boom.
Don't touch me.
Wild Things.
2's company, 3's a crowd.
Can I play too? Or is it just for boys?
I don't ever remember hearing that trailer. I did not realize what and all that they gave away in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it still manages to be misleading because the movie is so twisty. But yeah, no, they kind of like, if you saw the trailer, the whole setup, the whole suspense of like the first 35 to 40 minutes goes completely out the window.
Right.
Yeah, again, we assume we've seen it. I feel like just a true coming-of-age classic for people of our generation.
Yes.
changed a lot of young men and women.
Oh, yeah.
You have not watched the show Pen 15.
No.
But there is a whole episode devoted to, hey, we're having a sleepover and we're going to watch Wild Things. And it's a whole thing, dude. There's literally a whole episode centered around watching Wild Things, like sneak watching Wild Things at a sleepover.
Right.
And it's hysterical. It's so great.
This is another one of those that, like, I don't out and out have any proof that Dad has rented it, but, like, if I ever found out he did, I'd be like, oh, God. Because I've told you, like, Color of Night, and I was like, oh, no.
Right.
Both movies of which, by the way, do expose a man's full frontal nudity, which...
Color of Night, which was also in your suggestions.
Yes.
Which I've never seen.
You have never... Dude, we have to do this all over again.
Never taken the plunge.
Dude, we have to do this all over again, and you have to do Color... We have to do Color of Night. We have to. Like...
All right.
We have to do... Yeah, Summer of Sexual Seduction, round 2. Like, seriously. If you fucking...
Back for seconds.
I was going to say something...
Steamy seconds.
I was going to say something, worse than that, but I don't know if I want to say that out loud. Anyway.
Steamy seconds is pretty gross. I don't know what that means. Not sloppy seconds, mind you. Steamy seconds.
You get sloppy seconds with sloppy steaks, right?
Sloppy steaks. They can't stop you from ordering a glass of water. The waiters are fighting me off.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, basic premise.
Yes, plot time by all means.
We're in Blue
the
Bay.
Basic. Yes. Try and describe this plot. The setup's pretty simple, but it gets twisted.
A lifelong second-class deckhand wannabe rich guy gets
Sam Lombardo
gets accused of raping a student at the high school that he works at. But things are not as they seem in Florida, and it turns out that he and the girl were in on it the entire time. And
it's all a big scam to get Sandra Van Ryan's money.
Yes.
But there's an investigator who might just crack the whole thing wide open.
And we'll find
Ray
out.
Duquette.
We'll find out what these wild things are really all about. Yeah. Wild, dude.
Also starring Robert Wagner.
Yes. Bill Murray's in there.
Did we mention Bill Murray?
Yeah.
Killing it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just adding just the perfect little Susan, just the right amount of spice.
Right.
Great dish. Yes. The magic of this movie, which I have seen probably about 10 might be generous. I've probably seen it about 5 or 6 times.
Right.
I've gone back to it. And the difference, I'm going to talk about this as well with Eyes Wide Shut. The difference between like when I initially watched it and how I felt about it as I've aged up with the rewatches, Wild Things is just one of the most purely entertaining movies I've ever seen.
Yes. 100%.
Like, and it walks such a great line of like knowing exactly what it is, knowing exactly how trashy it wants to be. And it's like an Esterhaus movie, like on crack in a lot of ways, with the level of some of the dialogue.
Let's say, since it's Florida, let's say bath salts.
Okay, sure. Yeah. It's like an Esterhaus movie on bath salts. Who wrote this thing?
I believe it's the same guy.
Directed by the great John McNaughton.
Did he not write it too? Because
no.
I thought...
I'm looking him up right now. Mr. Stephen Peters wrote it. Responsible for... Let's see...
Have you done any research? Like, did you look at anything about it? Because
I did a little bit of trivia.
What you're saying is essentially what Kevin Bacon has said about it, which is like he thought it was the trashiest thing he ever read, but every couple of pages there was something that was like, well, wait a minute here, this could be something, and like eventually it becomes that, to the point that I know they said that like they were all on set like, okay, so what
trying to figure
out
out where everybody is and
what are we
who
doing
knows
here?
what.
Right.
And that's kind of the amazing thing, is you would expect a movie that is this salacious and this seemingly so focused on like gratuitous nudity and arbitrary sex that really is not essential to the plot, but is literally just there for titillation for the most part. You don't need to show any of what we see in this movie, but we're going to anyways. It's kind of the attitude of it.
Yeah.
It adopts the attitude, honestly, of, again, the late 80s, early 90s the Michael Douglas era. This is like the last gasp of it. When is Cruel Intentions?
99,
that's
98,
the other
99.
element of this is mixing. Cruel Intentions is like, oh, look at these insane teens and like how oversexed they are, etc. Like this is happening in high school, and this has that, but married with these older guys who were like heartthrobs of the 80s and most of the 90s, especially in the case of Bacon, I would say.
Yeah.
And Dylan, who right around this same time is so much so Veronica's watching this, she's like, was he in There's Something About Mary?
Same year.
And I was like, yeah, the same
Matter of
year
fact,
that this came out.
the kid that's his buddy Jeff or whatever, or Jimmy, he's in There's Something About Mary with him in that movie as well.
Oh, like a little...
Yeah, he's there. He's
Gotcha.
in there too, yeah.
Never noticed that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, it's weird because it's like, you know him for that, but it's like, I mean, I've seen him in stuff going back to like, is it Over the Edge? Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the Edge back in the late 70s, Drugstore Cowboy in the like late 80s, early 90s. I was like, I went through all of that in my Sycamore video phase and everything. So I always think of him as a dramatic actor, and it's like, that's what's so enjoyable about There's Something About Mary, is he's playing completely against type and killing it. Like,
yes.
I was ranting to Veronica the other night, but I was like, if the fucking Oscars had any sense or ever paid attention to comedy, Matt Dillon theoretically should have been up for Best Supporting Actor for that movie. And at the same time, Cameron Diaz probably should have been up for Best Supporting Actress or flat out Best Actress. Those are like rock solid comedic performances that you can go back to over and over again that are fantastic. Anyways, but so it's taking the like salacious teen element, but then it actually has a pretty compelling, twisted, kind of neo-noir story to it, which you don't really, even in this trailer, it feels a little more soap opera-y,
right,
I think, than what you ultimately get.
Right.
And it is trashy, but it's smart about its trashiness.
Right.
And to your point of them like constantly trying to figure it out on set, it all hangs together. When you go back and rewatch this, and you watch the way Matt Dillon is playing the like, I'm innocent, man, like to his boat buddy, like all of that, they're playing, and this when he comes in to like get into it with Ray over like, this guy's been harassing me, he's had me, up here all day, when they're trying to implicate him after the settlement's gone down, he has the money, etc. You can feel in the performances like, we know that there's something off and that he's like overplaying it. He's almost showing his cards, but it's still done in such a way where it would play to everybody around them as like, okay, this is believable. They're really good, tricky performances in the service of, again, a very trashy screenplay in terms of some of the dialogue.
But here's my question, because this is something I honestly, having not actually sat down, watched it for analysis, only watching it like it was on the background or just, I'll turn it on because I know the beats. When you put in the context of, I was going to say, you've seen it like 5 times. There's a certain part of this movie I've seen a ton, but like the whole movie as a whole, never. Like maybe 3 times. But like, flashes, or like if it's on HBO and, it's like whatever, and, I never had a copy of it on DVD or VHS I could watch myself.
Yeah, you did.
I do now, but like I didn't have it. I bought that for like $9 at GameStop
probably.
Randomly.
Yeah. When they used to sell DVD.
Yeah, exactly. But again, this is already after, like, it was like, oh, it's $9. Why not? When you add in the end, and this is the only thing I'm confused about, it's all Nev Campbell. Like, the movie is all Nev Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She set everything up.
I didn't realize that watching it the first time I watched it, because I didn't pay attention to credits back then. So it was like, oh, she's alive. Haha, cool. She gets the upper hand, and then that's it. And something in the back of my head this time watching it said, wait a minute, you know that you've seen her sitting down with Bill Murray, but you haven't seen that yet. What's going on here? And then the credits start to roll, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So it was like you could argue, like a fresh first-time viewing for me in that regard. Because
Veronica completely forgot too. She thought Denise Richards was the one who made it out of everything and got the manipulator.
My question is, the photos that she shows to Matt Dillon, is that the car wash thing, or is that another incident that happened before the car wash?
That is them fucking another time.
So it has been going on.
That's how I took that.
He
had already been having sex with Denise Richards.
That's what I took.
That was the reveal. That's what baited him into dealing with all that is being outed. And basically, I mean, he would have instantly been a pariah regardless because of remove the rape angle, fake rape allegations. But the simple fact that he was having an affair with a student, the teaching job is gone.
Now let me ask you
the
this.
School is gone. He's a pariah in the community. He'd have to leave.
Have you heard anything about like the original setup for it?
I don't know. Can you be any more specific?
Okay, well,
I don't.
In the original setup, Susie is both Sandra Van Ryn. She's related to Kelly. Kelly's father or grandfather.
They're like stepsisters or something.
No, she would have been Kelly's dad. Slept with Susie's mom, and they had Susie. She was an illegitimate child, so they would have been somehow. She would have been like it's Kelly's grandfather did this, so she would have been like a aunt or cousin or something to Kelly, because it would have been her dad.
So there's the angle of fucking over the family that abandoned me.
Right. Well, caused my mom to go crazy. You know, my mom left us with nothing.
Assume that she actually killed the dad instead of he committed suicide. One of my favorite moments. He didn't have to commit suicide, honey.
Yeah,
like the most insensitive.
Well, no, see, I
ever.
I took that as like that's how Sandra Van Ryn was going to get her money. It was like she
arranged it.
She had that happen.
She has the boy toy who like tries to.
But the initial end was not this police officer like killed my friend. And I'm gonna because to me that's the whole angle. It's like she's roundabout way to get back to killing him
more than anything.
Yeah, but initially in one of the drafts it was supposed to be she's an illegitimate child. But whatever it was gonna do was like but they started thinking about it and was like but if they have sex then that's like incest. So I don't think we should do that route. So they cut the whole idea of like she was a bastard child of these two illegitimate or whatever.
That would have been a little too much for people.
That would have been
but very popular now.
Yeah, somehow, yeah. You know, with the king and queen and all, we got it. They were related. Anyway, so if you're watching along and you really don't have a clue, one, the twist comes out of nowhere to me the first time I watch it. Just as crazy as the three-way that happens right after that, you know? Because the whole time I'm thinking, like, Matt Dillon's on edge, somebody's going to get him, he's at this hotel, like, he's already been pushed off the road once, and when it's one of the two girls, I'm like, wait a minute, what? Oh, intriguing. Oh, okay,
and
wait a minute.
Early too.
Yeah,
you're like, this trial wrapped up really quick.
I
thought how I thought it was going to.
Right.
You get amazing Bill Murray in there though, cross-examining Campbell.
I love that when he passes by her after he wins, he's in that shitty fucking car. But when he pulls up to get that check, he's in a fucking like Lamborghini, Ferrari, whatever it is. I thought he was note perfect in this movie. Just
I love the neck brace. There's an insurance guy around here earlier.
And
I have to wear it all the time.
To me, it's going to be a weird callback, but I love, same as Ghostbusters, he's in his office, but there's nothing blocking him from there, just the partition. Send him in. It's like he could hear you. What
standing up
to Janine, all my calls. Like I love it. I don't know if they were trying to go for a callback to that, but I thought this is fucking perfect.
It all plays. It's all straight gold from him. Yeah. But the cross-examination of Nev Campbell is kind of his like highlight moment.
Yeah.
They basically get Nev Campbell to commit perjury, and by relation, Denise Richards to also commit perjury about the fake rape allegations against Sam Bowden, their teacher. But it's all a big scam to get a payout because, of course, they could now turn right around and sue Sandra Van Ryn, the rich mom of Denise Richards.
Right.
So they get a huge settlement. I love Bill Murray like rubbing the contract all over his body.
Yes.
Just great bits where they were just like, just go.
Yes, just let him go.
You want to do that's not in the script. There's no
Of course
way.
not.
I don't think anything he says in this movie is probably in the script.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we have the hotel scene, the reveal, the three-way, which, it's iconic. Well, what else can we say?
It is iconic. Yeah.
The implants.
Yeah.
The lack of nudity from Neve Campbell, which was always a disappointment.
Yes,
as a kid.
but also...
Who adored Scream 2, and she has the Scream 2 hair at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I could say, like, way to stick to your guns for the idea of, like, you know what, I want to do this character, I want to do that, but in my contract, I'm not going to have any nudity.
Well, and presumably not because she had any objection. It was all because of Party of Five.
Right.
Because that required that she not do any public nudity whatsoever. But presumably she would have been down.
I like to think so.
Anyways. So they have threesome. I mean, the funniest shit in there is just Matt Dillon even choosing to speak. But there's just the, yeah. There's a couple times where he's just, yeah. And you're like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Guidance counselors get to find out all sorts of interesting things. I'm like, nobody needs to talk right now. Just shut up, dude. What do you just shut up?
That had to be because I'm sure you read that they all were like, we're just going to make a pitcher of margaritas. We're going to hang out. We're just going to see what happens. Like,
yes.
But that had to be just some of that talking. Like,
so this one is like, to me, you get this, and you had Denise Richards' mom. Was it Teresa Ryan? Russell. Yes. You have her kind of gratuitous sex scene with the houseboy, where we're mainly setting up that, like, she's gunning for Lombardo, but she can't get Lombardo, right? So, yeah.
The only thing that doesn't fit to me, and I get that it's supposed to anchor him, is the girlfriend wife character,
Meredith Baxter.
Yeah, she just, like, when she gets shit on, man, I feel bad. I honestly feel bad for her because she knows, like. She has to know that Lombardo's been banging all of Blue Bay. Like,
Blue Bay. Banging his way through Blue Bay.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that, like, he's like, oh, yeah, that he's talking to the principal. It was like, that's a Barracuda. Fish will kill you. It's like, yes, like some of the women that you date. It's like, what a foreshadowing, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
But
we're going to put this out there. He was not fucking Susie at all.
No.
That was just like a perk the one time that it happened.
I think so.
Because she adamant like he was a friend, and of course she blackmails him. Right. So it's either, well, she has dirt on me from Kelly, but also herself. So like I should go along with this whole thing, or, I don't know. Yeah, it could ruin him either way. But I love that she's like, well, instead of ruining you, let's do this. Let's all get some money. And oh, by the way, you're going to rope in that detective over there. Yes. He's dirty. Oh, okay. And they just do it. Which can, if you want to, that can get us to probably the second most, iconic piece of nudity in this movie. It's Kevin Bacon's Bacon.
I mean, you're jumping way ahead.
I know,
brother. But, we
can get there.
Yeah. Anyways, so from this point, we basically had Duquette, Kevin Bacon, very early is like, oh shit, we fucked up. Right. Like, this was all a setup. This is just way too convenient. They're working together. So he starts, sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. And eventually comes to, like, Denise Richards' house after, like, Sue's been freaking out. They're not supposed to see each other. And it's like, you got to go over there and calm her down. And then they have, like, a straight up cat fight right out of a soap opera that transitions into them like making out in a pool.
Right.
And the whole time Kevin Bacon is filming this.
Right.
And of course brings it into his superior, who's the fucking homie from Nash Bridges.
Yes.
Yes. Harvey?
Yes, Harvey from
God, I love Nash Bridges. Is that anywhere? It's probably on like Peacock or something.
CBS network probably.
I gotta go watch Miami Vice though before I can go back to Nash Bridges.
Yeah, you do.
Anyways, but I love that guy as well, who's just constantly like, get off her case, like, leave Sandra Van Ryan alone.
Yeah.
So
because he has the equivalent of child porn on his hands now. Like, you just shot child porn, my man.
You just shot 2 underage girls, like
making out
surreptitiously too. This isn't admissible in court, and you basically just handed me like softcore pornography. Like, what are you doing? Get your shit together.
Yeah.
So then we have what you think is luring Susie to the beach drunkenly, and at this point, which it's fair to assume, they do a very handy job of making us believe that she is dead, and then Denise Richards, who seems like she knows that's the plan when they go out there, because he's like, hey, go get such and such from the car, and she's already getting the plastic wrap, like when he comes up and presumably has bludgeoned her. But we'll get back to that later. Anyways, again, we've given so many spoilers. The spoiler is that she's not actually dead. She's just having her teeth knocked out, or pulled out, rather.
Right.
And they're setting all of this up. Now, this is one incredulous part. Was like, she really, like, managed to be completely quiet, no breath on the, like, plastic wrap. The whole time they were, like, putting her in the back of the car. And then, of course, he takes her out into the Everglades, basically, right?
Right.
And you don't see what happens to her.
No.
He just kind of comes back, and Denise Richards has been waiting in the car.
Right.
So then eventually, again, Kevin Bacon's on the trail. He shows up at Denise Richards' place. Off camera, we just hear gunshots. He's the only one who makes it out. And
he's been shot himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that before or after we reveal that he and Bacon are...
No.
Or he and... Okay.
So he gets, basically, he tells him, like, hey, I had to shoot her. You know, she went crazy. And they said, well, this isn't your first time you've had a bad shoot.
Yes.
That's when we're first introduced to that.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, they did make passing reference to, like... Because it's connected to the Nev Campbell.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, this is the first time we're hearing official, like, hey, from, like, somebody in the force. It's like, we don't really know what to do with you. This is not your first incident where you shot a child. Right. So you're on suspension. You're done.
So he next we see of him is, you know, his big debut.
My favorite thing is, like, you got Lombardo. He's down, you know, I'm assuming in the Keys, wherever he's at. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he comes into the wherever he's staying, and you're thinking, like, well, who's he going to be in this fucking shower? Like, who could it be?
Right.
Well, it's fucking Kevin Bacon.
And you're like, oh, these two have been fucking the whole time. Well, not quite.
No, not quite. But
they do have an awful lot of sexual tension.
They do.
And apparently they cut a shower scene.
Yeah, they said it was too gratuitous. And I'm like, really? That's too gratuitous.
Were they...
You just filming like dicks all day long?
Was it gym style? Like, they just happened to be showering next to it, or were they, like, getting it on in the shower? Because if so, where is that footage, and how is it never leaked out?
I think it's like he's showering, Matt Dillon comes into the thing, he's like, oh, what's up? And he gets in the shower, too. And they're just talking.
The whole conversation.
But it's just but it's just dicks out, you know, straight up, you know, Starship Troopers style, just everybody's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. McNaughton's like, hey, I did make Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, but I'm no Verhoeven.
Yeah. I'm not coming for Paul's game anytime soon. Right. I'm good. Yeah.
That's not my bag, baby.
And yeah, so it's revealed that, like, oh yeah, he was in on it too. But Matt Lombardo's like, yeah, dude, you weren't supposed to kill Kelly. Like,
yeah, that was.
He's like, relax, dude. They think she killed Susie. It's all good. He's like, I know,
but that wasn't part of the plan.
That wasn't part of the plan, dude.
Hey,
like,
you wanna go hang out on my boat?
Yeah. Anyway, we gotta wait on the money. The money's still gonna get wired here. Come and hang out on the boat.
Yeah.
He takes him out of the boat.
I'm sorry, if you're ever waiting on a large sum of money from a shady individual who you've been in a criminal enterprise with,
who found you in a bar,
and they're like, oh, it'll just be a little bit longer. Let's go on my boat in the meantime. Hard pass.
No, thank you. I'll wait right here.
Just bad decision making.
Yes.
You deserve to die, Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
You're dead.
Yeah, that's perfect,
like,
dude.
I was like, is that ADR? I was like, is that on the day? What's going on there?
Yeah.
You're dead. Yes. Nev Campbell shows up with the harpoon gun, looking like a straight up femme fatale. She's got the iconic, like, blonde hair now.
Right.
I don't know what that is about, like, all right, if you're going to have I just think of like Halle Berry at the end of Swordfish, for instance. Like, if you want a dramatic shift with a female, it's just like, make her blonde, make her platinum blonde, with big glasses.
Which, I mean, for someone who's trying to be incognito and like not draw attention to the fact that they're still alive
Super
somewhere,
loud.
Why would you do that?
But she does look very remarkably different, just with the hair change, honestly.
Well, if she had to get her teeth trimmed,
and then they tussle, and then we get the reveal that she's on board as well. They shoot Kevin Bacon. He goes overboard. And then she's basically like, oh, spoiler, like, I was in on everything. We get we don't even get the full background reveal.
She tells him, like, you know how, like, in that story, which I don't even know where the story comes from. Like, I don't know if they referenced this story earlier in the movie, but she tells him, like, oh, in this story, whatever, poem, whatever, like, how they killed the king, and all. As soon as that comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, she fucking poisoned him.
Oh yes, that's right, she poisoned.
Yeah, and so he, gets poisoned, and that's that. And she's just
these dumbass guys just making bad decisions. Yeah. Kevin Bacon should have never gotten on that boat, and don't accept a drink from. Again, you guys are waiting on money. Like, you're just waiting to get double crossed.
You made the mistake of thinking that this girl who had leverage on you to put you away, that, like, end of the day, what you were doing was wrong. Okay,
right.
So, like, it's the whole hard candy argument. Like, you should be punished for, like, what you did. But I think one of the beautiful things about this movie is that up until that point, you really want Matt Dillon and them to, like, all get away with it. Like, you were rooting for him to be like, yeah, fuck the system. Like, he was always going to be a boat guy. He was never going to be a rich dude. Haha, they swindled that money away.
When you get the reveal that, oh, but you were fucking Denise Richards the whole time. Like,
right. Again, see, that's that's the thing. I have to go back and look at whatever photos they did. So let's just say they weren't the entire time. Let's just say that because when she comes out of that, like, that house, she's not disheveled. She's not distraught crying. She just kind of, and she goes on about her way. She runs down the street. She doesn't look like she's upset or mad, right?
I mean, I think she does. I think that's one of the kind of mislead moments.
You can't tell what happened. You don't know what happened in there because they don't ever show you. She just shows up soaking wet.
You could take it as just like she's getting into character for what she's got to go. Like,
because here's the thing, in my head, if those photos, like, here's how it would go down. That happens. No, just hear me out. That happens. Okay, they finally do, after all this tension. They finally fuck, right? Neve Campbell, the opportunist, because we do find out later from the female detective, Duquette's partner, these people did. She's got really big IQ. Susie could just do just about anything. Mm-hmm. Oh well, we'll see if she's around. Like, okay, now that we know she's a mastermind, if Susie takes those photos then and blackmails Lombardo as, like, I saw you fuck Kelly, now you're going to help me. So, like, literally, after that happens, Susie shows up and it's like, hey, I got these Polaroids of you and Kelly. I just saw her leave. You're going to help me do this. That night, he would go to the bar, get introduced to Ray. And the next time he sees Kelly, he's like, hey, look, we're on a plan. Or he tells, okay, you, Susie, you go tell her about the plan. And that's that. That either leaves you to believe that, like, Kelly and Susie were both in on this the entire time. Like, Susie came to Kelly and said, hey, I know a way to get your mom's money. And, fuck over this cop I hate. You go seduce Sam Lombardo. I'll take photos. Let me take it from there.
I don't think that's what it was at all.
Arguably. It probably isn't. But it all comes down to what those photos are of. Because when I saw them, it looked like inside of his house. Like she was in the same outfit that she was in that scene where she was soaking wet. But I can't tell. If she isn't, and it's from another time before, then it's just he's been fucking her the entire time, and he's a piece of shit. And
I thought it was in the hotel that he inevitably is staying in, but since the only other time we see him arriving there is before the threesome scene, right. I was like, oh, this is their spot. This is where they would go meet.
I didn't think about that. You're right.
But I don't know. Something to go back to and re-explore. Mm-hmm. But regardless, the way that Neve Campbell gets away with it and has the final scene with Bill Murray, and he's just like, remind me, like, never to piss you off. That whole... The setup is, I'm like, dude, I would have watched Wild Things 2 if it was Neve Campbell goes to a new town and manipulates a bunch of people through sex and intelligence into doing whatever, and it's another crime caper, and she's literally
the wild thing.
She's the wild thing, or she enlists or manipulates, or maybe she has a female companion or something, and that's what you have going into the second one. But to me, that's like, I never saw Basic Instinct 2, but
me neither.
But I'm like, that's almost the trajectory of like, yeah, what if you kept that character going? Like, what if there was another adventure with that? And yeah, it's not like it's going to happen now. At least we get her back for Scream 5, just known as Scream. But yeah, I feel like the movie was a hit as far as I know.
Yeah, 20 million, made 60 million in the 90s. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Huge DVD.
Oh, of course.
I got to imagine probably for a while one of the biggest DVD sellers. Holds up on rewatch. And again, we just sat here and we were like, oh, but there's still this thing. And again, I think everything hangs together, but there is enough because the plotting is so like kind of holy shit. And again, I love the way that like we get all of it revealed to us as the credits are rolling out, which I'd never really seen done before. In that pace of like, I'm going to show you a credit card and I'm going to show you a scene that you didn't see. Also didn't mention it, the opener of this and the score, the like, it just has the sweaty feeling of like, it's just some like really reverby, twangy guitar, and then some sax every once in a while, some horns. It totally sets the mood, but the opening, some of my favorite, like literally the font for this movie.
Yes.
The font for all of the cast and the title cards and everything. Love it. I want the Wild Things font. So good. But yeah, I had a blast rewatching it. Glad you recommended it. Any other final thoughts?
No, I mean, it's as iconic as any other kind of sexual thriller you want to put out there from the 90s. It obviously gets remembered for...
And I won't even say that it goes... It's not like this is, oh my god, the most salacious. Because I'm like, Basic Instinct, way more graphic than this from a sex scene standpoint.
Right.
Fatal Attraction, same thing. But the fusion of like... It's on the tail... Again, we're still in this hotspot where they're making adult movies for kids they know are gonna sneak into them. I don't know how else to put it.
Oh yeah, no, this is
like Cruel Intentions, this, and it's on the backs of like these young hot teen horror movies, which again, all of these kids are like 25, 27.
Yeah, playing
but
high
they're
school.
playing teens, and it's this whole like they realize, oh well, you get the adults who are like maybe they're a little embarrassed, maybe they think of themselves as perverts if they're going to it, but like they want to see it,
right?
And then you get all these kids who are like, oh my god, I gotta see Denise Richards, she's naked in this movie,
right?
And it's like they're gonna find a way to see it. They'll figure it out. And
you remember?
And if we miss them in theaters, we'll get them at the rental store. We'll get them on DVD.
You remember the famous thing that Casper Van Dien did? He
with
went
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, he bought kids tickets to The Little Mermaid 2, and they all snuck into Starship Troopers, and people were like, well, yeah, dude, but you just gave money to the film that you're competing against at the box office. But he did to prove a point. Like, if kids want to see this gratuitous violence and nudity, they'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it is... And for everything the MPAA and the rating system does, it doesn't stop people from doing it there. It certainly doesn't stop them from doing it now. I'm not saying we should have a free-for-all and you can just do whatever you want. There has to be some kind of code of decency in films. There needs to be something separating, like, Wild Things from, like, porn. But I'm pretty sure there's probably a Wild Things movie parody, quote unquote, where everybody's just fucking in every scene. It's AVN award winner or something like that. Who knows? Right. But this is still that era where I don't know how tasteless this may sound, but like these are movies you go to the theater to see. Like you gotta see it. Right. Maybe on a big screen, maybe not. Like now we're talking like, well, because it's a huge blockbuster, it's the visuals of it all. But like something like this, I don't know anybody who's going to like imagine like the Sunday matinee of Wild Things at 2:00 in the afternoon. Right. You and your girlfriend are going to see it, and there's just like 10 random dudes in there for no reason. You're like, oh, I know what they're here for.
Right.
You know, but you don't know. Like, you know as a guy, oh, I've heard, I know what they're here for. Because, again, you don't have the internet at this point. You just heard through the grapevine of your friends, oh, man, Denise Richards. And somehow you talk your girlfriend into going with you because you're like, you know, maybe she might want to be in threesomes. Who knows? But, you know, you got to deal with all these dudes in the theater. And you're like, wait a minute, is this New York in the 70s? What's going on here? Sorry. Speaking of New York.
Oh, okay. Somehow that was a transition. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, thanks. Huge thumbs up.
Yes.
Great rewatch. Glad you recommended it. Now, as I mentioned, we're not going to play the trailer, but we are going to transition into talking about 1999's Eyes Wide Shut, the final film from my favorite filmmaker, Mr. Stanley Kubrick.
The most erotic Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah. Some would say not erotic enough, that they were sold. They thought
Bullshit.
they were getting a Michael Douglas-esque erotic thriller starring this married couple, but the movie is not that. It is a lot of things, though. This was probably, generously speaking, this is probably like my 10th time through, I'm gonna say. I love it. I have a hard time ranking his movies, but I can tell you that this one and The Shining are the ones I return to most often.
And this is the longest gap, right?
This is the longest gap.
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket was 1987.
And this
comes out in 99. Now, granted, he was shooting it
right
for
400 days.
Well over a year. And then the post process as well is well over a year.
Yeah.
So you're talking like
I'm just going by
most
release
of what
date.
most of what you're seeing is probably shot in like 97, 98, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see it until 99. He dies famously either 4 days before or 4 days after the release of the film.
4 days after he handed his
the cut over
to
and
Warner
he had
Brothers.
suggested a release date. They decided to go with the Christmas window. Counter programming, two huge stars at the time, and stories have been swirling about the movie, the anticipation for it, and then add in the factor that it's now his final film. His inadvertent final statement, some people would say, and some people would say 100% intentional, because there are those people who are like, you can see it's like it's one of those career retrospective sort of things from a director where it's like there are elements of almost every single thing he's ever made up to this point. And when you do look back, and it's like he was as far back as 1971, I believe, he was planning to do this as a project, which is an adaptation of Traum Novelle by Arthur Schnitzler.
Didn't he acquire it in 1969?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I did research.
Initially, I know you did. I'm proud of you. Just filling you in. I don't know how much people give a shit about this one. I feel like it's a movie a lot of people probably still have not seen, because a lot of people avoided it even at the time, even though huge success, arguably.
Yeah.
Especially internationally. Like, it made money. It was number one at the box office when it came out. The hype train worked. I think people felt burnt on it in a similar way to, this is a weird side note, but kind of somewhat related. The Soderbergh version of Solaris.
Mm-hmm.
With Clooney and Natasha Michael, she's in Ronin, and she's I remember Uncle BJ like coming back from the theater, him and Rose, and like they were just like they didn't get it. They like were totally off put by it. But I remember that's another one that was like kind of a big holiday release, high concept sci-fi movie. It's a remake of a 3-hour like epic, essentially,
right?
And not what people want from like their big movie star, George Clooney at the time. And it just kind of like died on the vine, like, but over time critically has become one of those where it's like, oh, he remade a masterpiece, and he kind of made a masterpiece as well. Like, it's actually really, really good. So this one at the time, I feel like, was split reaction. I mean, and throughout his career, it was never like universal praise across the board. There was always the hardcore defenders, but there was definitely always a contingent that were like, he's overrated, he's, ponderous, his movies are too cold. And that, I think, is also one of the reasons I go back to this one, because his movies are a little cold.
Yeah.
I love all of them. But they do, especially something like 2001 or even Barry Lyndon, have like a lot of remove from the emotionality of the characters. They're not very emotional movies. Right. Something like The Shining, there's emotions like fear and terror and stuff like that. But it's also a very cold, kind of isolating movie. But it's, with a purpose to a point. This is arguably his most talky movie. Mm-hmm. And one of his most tension-filled. But it's constantly, if you're familiar with his body of work, is kind of like subverting your expectations at almost every turn for what it is. And I wish I don't even think I knew who I remember being aware of this movie when it came out, when I was probably 8 or 9, just from the trailers and the Chris Isaak music. Yeah. And they were striking because there was no dialogue, because it was just images, and it was big, bold, Cruise, Kidman, Kubrick. Like, that was, they were selling the movie literally on their names alone. Yeah. But it was those 3 names and then Eyes Wide Shut. It told you nothing. It was purely visual. And I didn't really, start to explore him. Like, I had seen The Shining. Mm-hmm. But I don't really remember consciously, okay, this is my dude and I need to see everything, until from Sycamore, we was going on a trip to Virginia, we were staying at Uncle Tommy's, and I was like, I gotta bring a few VHSs. I know there's a VHS player in the room I'm staying in. Okay? So I get Westworld, which I'd never seen at the time, with Mr. Yul Brynner. I can't remember the other one. Oh, excuse me, no. 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Doctor Strangelove. Okay. And it was basically, I watched Westworld and I was like, that was another one of those where I was like, oh, sometimes they're just okay. Sometimes these movies that you hear are iconic and oh my God, you gotta see this. Or the poster is super striking, or it's referenced a lot, or it's memorable in some way. Sometimes you're gonna watch them and be like, that was alright. Yeah. It was cool. I get it. I got it, but
good on me for being able to take my own
right. Maybe it doesn't stand the test of time. So at that same weekend, I also watched 2001: A Space Odyssey for the first time, start to finish. Or no, I take that back. It's the first time I had seen 2001 prior, because when it became 2001, AMC showed it at midnight when it turned over. I also remember that because Dexter's Laboratory had a hour-long special that same New Year's. Mm-hmm. It was a big one.
When it became 2001 or became 2000?
No, excuse me. Dexter's Lab was 2000. It was a Y2K thing. And then AMC did a big to-do about showing 2001 without commercial interruption the whole time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now I don't think they have commercial interruption at all. I think they just have little breaks between the movies and stuff.
Yeah, just to let you get up and go to the bathroom.
Right. But yeah, that was the first time I ever watched it. But I obviously didn't fully engage with him until I'm thinking more probably 12, 13. But yeah, so I do Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, same weekend. And that's the trajectory right there. I thought Westworld was just okay, and I thought those other two were basically some of the best movies I'd ever seen up to that point. And then I devoured everything. Eventually get to this one right around the same time that I'm reappraising Vanilla Sky, another movie that I remember Uncle BJ going to see and then being incredibly disappointed by. Yeah. Another big Christmas release, an erotic thriller. I feel like this is why you will never see Tom Cruise ever do anything like this ever again, is because he does this. In spite of itself, it becomes a huge international hit, but then it's almost like he gilds the lily just a little too much because people hate Vanilla Sky. Mm-hmm. Another one that makes $100 million worldwide, but people are just have their knives out for it. It's like they were ready to finally just really let Cameron Crowe have it, and they were pissed. But yeah, I feel like I'm ranting.
You are. I'm letting you go. I know you do.
I love this movie. Again, I've seen it a bunch. How many times have you seen it? When did you first see it? What are your general thoughts on it? I've seen it twice now.
This is my second time.
How long in between?
10, 11 years.
Okay. Maybe we should do a brief plot time before we get too much further.
Yeah.
So we could talk about this.
A very rich doctor and his gorgeous wife.
Pretty rich, but we're
not
going to meet
rich.
some even richer people in this movie.
Basically, a pretty rich doctor, and his beautiful wife both have, during the Christmas season, come to certain revelations about their marriage and each other and what it means to be married and what it means to truly know someone. And really, they find out that you can never really truly know something, because if you look at things with eyes wide shut, they don't say the name of the title in the movie, thank God.
It'd be so clunky if they did.
Yeah, but like...
Also, sorry, just to interject, one of the most brilliant titles ever for anything. Great.
This is up there with me. This is going to be a weird association. This is up there with me with Good Time, because I'm like, he's out at night in New York. Like, I get it's Pinewood and it's England, which always weirded me. Like, Stanley Kubrick is American, right? Yeah. So he just went to England and was like, I'm never flying home. I'm done.
I mean, he took a boat to England. He did. To fly, period.
Okay. So when did he take a boat to England? Like after Full Metal Jacket or what? How long?
They filmed The Shining at Pinewood. They filmed Full Metal Jacket. Like, most of his career, like, the films were shot in England.
Well, it's weird because,
after
like,
a certain point.
you want to put him in the same... I want to, just me personally, put him in the same category of, like, a Coppola, a Spielberg, or whatever.
He dates all of them by, like, 15, 20 years.
He does, but, like...
he started in the 50s.
I get it. I understand that. He's, like, the last relic of that studio system that, like, is still around. But because of, like, the American, the New York connection, whatever it is, I want to lump him in with those kind of people. But he's just been in England doing his thing.
Sidney Lumet's a little bit more of the parallel.
Yeah.
The difference is Sidney Lumet, like, worked his ass off. Like, did so many movies.
Right.
Just one after the other. And was another guy who could... Honestly, I guess Soderbergh is like the... That just kind of occurred to me. Soderbergh is kind of like the modern Sidney Lumet, in as much as he tackles a bunch of different genres, works constantly, always kind of reinventing himself, always trying to stay fresh. And it's like...
He's a filmmaker, not a storyteller. He's just a filmmaker. That's all he is.
But Kubrick, again, why he remains my favorite filmmaker of all time. If you want to, we can do Living or Dead sort of thing, and we break it down further. But remains my favorite filmmaker is because he had so many where it's like, I worked in this genre, and I made like the definitive movie in this genre, or one of the definitive movies. And he does it in a couple of subgenres as well, and it's kind of like they stand toe to toe with anything of that you could put up. And again, we were just talking about Wild Things. This is coming at the tail end of all of these very, like, sexually exploitive,
that's why I asked
like,
you
plots, etc.
Well, that's why I asked you if you think, with the exception of like Unfaithful, I know that was a big one with Richard Gere and all that, with the exception of maybe that one or two splashes here in the 2000s, that's what I was asking that up front to get to this angle of like, because I feel this way, I don't think I need another sexual thriller, erotic, whatever, after watching this movie, because I think I understand, one, what this movie is trying to say and do, and how that extrapolates to like the rest of us as the movie-going audience, in so much as if we put on a mask and we are able to indulge in that fantasy, it can take us and do things for us that we don't know it can. And so maybe after 10 years of guys wishing they were Michael Douglas, or wishing they were like, or Matt Dillon or something like that, where, oh yeah, I want to be that guy that like finds the chick that just wants to be banged whenever, dude. Like, fucking Douglas is out there just nailing it, Sharon Stone, Glenn Close. Oh yeah, man. Like, you have a decade of those type of movies. Even like, Caruso and, Jade and all these, Bruce Willis, everybody has one. And here comes arguably like the hottest couple and like the most talked about couple of the era. And they're going to be in a movie together again. And they're going to be naked. At least she is. You're going to see a lot of her. And
I don't even think you see Tom Cruise's ass.
No, he's just shirtless a lot. But I think that, again, this movie, it's kind of, it's enough. Like, if you're watching this as someone who's, if you want to call yourself a connoisseur of these things, by the time you get to this at the end of the decade, you're like, you know what? I don't know if I need...
Said it all.
Yeah.
Said it all, man.
Said it all, man. It was good. But yeah, I think that's what it is. Because again, there's a lot at play here about what the viewing public, people who watch this movie, what they can take from it in terms of like projection onto their own life, what it says about people who are married, people who are single, people who, maybe just kind of waltzing through life, not really knowing what's what. It's kind of like a weird statement upon that. And like pretty much it's one of those that like, I think if you sit back and watch it and just look at it frame by frame, it's weird. It's one of these weird things. It's like watching it the second time now and doing a lot of research. I had this weird thing in my head that like, maybe he like had this clue that like, this is going to be it for me. So I'm going to make sure that it is exactly what I want down to a few things, just because like I need this to be, I haven't done one of these in 12 years. Something tells me I just got to do this. And I will have put my stamp on this whole thing, and we'll see what happens from there.
And that's the thing. It's like I was saying, it's so much the summation of all of his stuff, but so different in so many ways from like what he had done prior. And by all accounts, it was a shock when he died. Like he wasn't in poor health from what anybody knew. Like it wasn't like he was hiding cancer or something like that. It was very sudden. But you have to wonder if like he almost internally, or almost like, oh dude, you've done it. Like you've done your thing. Like you don't need to make any more. So now's your time to go. You know what?
Knowing what I know about this guy, if he did any sort of research whatsoever, and he might have stumbled upon something, maybe.
I mean,
it took him.
Everybody, no. There's the Illuminati conspiracy stuff surrounding him.
Yeah,
it's out there.
Yeah.
And he also faked the moon landing. Yeah.
I don't believe that one bit. Because you can still see shit up there. Like people see it all the time. Look with the right telescope.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Again, if we're gonna fake it, he's the guy to do it.
Did you ever see Operation Avalanche though?
No. What's that?
It's like it's basically a found footage movie about faking the moon landing.
Oh.
Or some guys who stumble onto the attempt to fake the moon landing and then have to like run from the government and shit. It's fucking very good. Operation Avalanche. A couple of years ago.
What was the one about the... I watched something where it was... that's the one with the Illuminati and the farm thing, and then there's the one with the two guys that they stumble upon the cult.
Yeah.
That one was fucking good, man. I love that one.
Yeah.
I can't think of that. I can't tell you the name.
Conspiracy.
Is that
It's just called The Conspiracy.
Yeah, that's a really fucking
good they one. End up at essentially an Eyes Wide Shut party at the end.
Yeah.
/ Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
That's the vibe of it. Yeah.
That's the... Which one is it? They're two mercenaries, like they're taking a job, and it's...
That's Kill List.
That's what it is. That's the one
like more like Wicker Man.
Yeah, but it's still the same idea of like there's a fucking cult. Yeah. So my question is...
I have so many questions about the centerpiece scene. But is there anything you want to address beforehand? What was your question going to be? Because if it's related to that, maybe we hold it for a second.
That sort of. But I would tell you my only gripe in this movie.
Okay.
The prostitute's name was not Allison. That's all I wanted. Because I then would have been able to say that Allison left Salem, she did not get with the virgin who lit the black flame candle, and that she moved to New York, and she became a prostitute, and she got diagnosed with HIV.
Domino is clearly her hooker name. So you can think that she's Allison. Okay. If you really want to think that sweet little Allison from Hocus Pocus ends up getting AIDS in New York.
She was
unceremonious.
She was a pleasant surprise. Like, wait a minute, that's not Hocus Pocus Al. Is that Al? Oh my God. Because back in the day, she was one of them. I was like, oh, of course. The big yabos.
The yabos,
yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, no, and I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, of course. What has she been doing? And of course, I stumbled upon all this other stuff.
Am I gonna say? I think I'm gonna say it.
What?
I'm gonna say it. Who'd have thunk? Thora Birch ended up having pretty big yabos.
That's that ironic, to say the least. I agree. Yeah.
I was like, does that sound weird? Because we are referencing like her performance as a child, and then I'm referencing like American Beauty, which I try not to bring up at all. But I love Ghost World.
Yeah, there you go.
I love
Good save. Good save. Okay. Yeah, so the crux of this is basically saying that, like,
what do you want to give them a little bit of setup? They're at a Christmas party.
They're phoning it in, dude. They've been married. They have a kid. They're phoning it in, and immediately when they get to this Christmas party, they're introduced to the richer elite, and they mirror each other. Like they're basically like you can look at it. They're just they're not as rich version of these people, and immediately when they get in, you know, she makes an excuse to get drunk, and he is doing the politic and whatever, walk around, whatever. But they both are paired off with like what I guess we're told to believe is like subconsciously their fantasies. Him being two women, hers being this like suave debonair guy who could like woo her off her feet. Who's talking all this game of like, you know, doesn't you think marriage, all this and this and that.
I mean, depending on how you feel about it, I'm going to say this dude is like the best flirter in the history of cinema.
That dude is in the red cloak later on.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, that's him. Guaranteed money. No, I bet you money.
No, it's not.
How do you know? Who is it?
Because Leon Vitali is the one who's in the red cloak.
How?
Remove your clothes?
Yeah.
That's Leon Vitali.
Yeah, but they dubbed Kate Blanchett's voice for whatchamacallit anyway, so it could be that dude. I'm just saying, like, that guy that's, like, trying to move her off her feet, he's got to be, like, the richest of the rich. I see him as, like, the big dude in red that's leading the whole ceremony.
I'm just telling you physically, no, it's not. It's not necessarily supposed to be. It's Leon Vitali in platforms to make himself look taller.
Okay. I don't know who Leon Vitali is.
Kubrick's personal assistant. He also acted in Barry Lyndon. He's great. Anyways, he worked on, like, basically every movie, I think, from, like, Clockwork forward.
Okay.
But his personal assistant, like, live-in assistant guy, he was involved in a lot of movies. But I think maybe the first collaboration was Barry Lyndon. But he acts in Barry Lyndon.
Okay.
There's a great documentary about him called Film Worker, I think, is the title. And it's just about him falling in love with cinema and then working with Kubrick forever. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you could still think it's the Hungarian dude.
I just like the idea of that. Like, I mean, if we're all So
you're assuming there's a lot of carryover between this Christmas party and the mansion party later.
Yeah, like this is obviously who gets to get an invitation.
Okay, sure, but
are the two
Ziegler seems like Sidney Pollack's character.
Yeah,
the older again, like you said, they are very much mirrors of each other.
Yeah,
more so, it's like this is you. If you guys continue on the path and you kiss the right asses, essentially, like
you could be this rich.
You could be me in like, you know, probably about 5 years.
Right.
And, but yeah, and like you said, they're paired off. I love the dance and the verbal dance and the physical dance between Nicole Kidman and I cannot remember this guy's name, but I just, he's Hungarian.
Are the two prostitutes that he is with two women at the party as well, right? When he's in a mask, there are two women that approach him at that party, right?
Yes.
One of them that tells him, that talks to him. I'm just saying, the reason why I think the guy's there, a lot of people who were at that Christmas party were at that other one too. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
At least 4 to 5 people were in both scenes. So it would lead me to believe if I had to pick a guy that would be leading this whole thing.
He's the top dog.
Yeah. I get the end. It
feels even more international and so many more people than this Christmas party is, though.
Right.
It feels much more massive. We'll get there.
Okay.
We will get there. I have so many questions.
Good.
So many questions. Okay. But yes, we have them paired off, and as you mentioned, it's kind of his fantasy. It's like two women, and then obviously they're what you would consider at least a bit more exotic than your boring American wife. Never mind the fact that it's actually stunning,
dude.
Nicole Kidman.
I mean, if she still has the same body, half as good as like fucking
this movie,
12, dude, a 12. Seriously.
This movie has I don't even know when I was going to bring it up, but this movie has the distinction in my mind of having not only the greatest opening shot in the history of cinema,
the greatest
but the greatest last line in the history of cinema as well. And if you can do that, and somehow you put 2 hours and 37 minutes in between those two things, that it's like 100% engaging, I think you have.
And you throw in a night odyssey and like just a lot of introspection.
It's a 2 day odyssey. It's a night and a day.
I know, but that's my thing. Anytime anybody is out at night doing shit, I'm game.
Yeah.
And just seeing what the world is like. We can get to it, but like his whole thing to get the costume, and then when he comes back to drop it off. That is, I want an entire movie of that just on its own.
Okay, we'll get there. I will get there very quickly. So, Cruz is being led further and further by these women, and there's the whole, where are we going? They're like, where the rainbow ends. And before he can, this is going to be a reoccurring theme, before he can transgress, he gets pulled away.
Yes.
Because Dr. Ziegler, again, Sidney Pollack, has a prostitute who has OD'd in his bathroom.
Yes.
And since we're all playing fast and loose, and I'll point this out to you for next time you watch it, because it's one of those I didn't pick up until like way down the line. I had to have somebody point it out to me. In this scene, you can straight up see on the back wall, in one shot, behind Tom Cruise, is Ziegler's mask that he's going to be wearing at the party.
Huh.
The like white stone-faced one with kind of the beak on it.
Yeah.
Not the plague mask, but the stubby one. He looks down at him from the balcony.
Yeah.
You can see that mask in the background.
Holy shit. I never even
at
noticed
a distance. And then when it cuts in closer to Cruz, the mask is gone. And it's one of those where it's like, is that a continuity error? Or are you...
Well, no, I think like Bill's he's getting dressed and realizes that like that is still out. So he may have removed it from the frame without us knowing. That's my opinion.
Sure.
He called him up here in a hurry, forgot that his mask was out. The minute he starts attending to the woman with naked woman, he's like, "Oh fuck, my mask!"
But
yes, just takes it down.
If you look for it, you can find it. It's in one of the like long shots, essentially. Yeah. So much stuff buried in the frame throughout this. So he's attending to her while Alice, Nicole Kidman, is still dancing with the Hungarian, and basically hers builds to a point of she's just like she could totally go upstairs with this dude. It's on the table. And she's like, I can't because I'm married. But they both clearly like the idea of
it's enough
flirting with the temptation. Right. Yes, the thrill of this could happen, but I'm not going to act on it. So they go home. They smoke a little pot. And we get what? What are you shaking your head about?
They go home and they fuck.
Yes.
She takes her glasses off.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get the poster image.
Right.
Yes.
And you realize that like the energy of what they've done at this party is what's amped them up to fuck.
Right.
And then the next day you have a smash of like they're going throughout their day. She is doing things with the kid. She's not as gorgeous as she was the night before. She's got her hair up, glasses. He is moving throughout his day. He's got another set of breasts in his face, which he treats just as clinically as he did the first set that we saw him with. Right. He's taking care of kids. He's asking about Christmas. He's being Dr. Bill. And then...
Yes, excuse me. Then...
They smoke weed.
They decide to smoke a little pot.
Right.
And start having a conversation. Real. Yeah. And I'm sorry, the transition of... First of all, the fact that she was not nominated for Best Actress... and or Best Support, you could considering it a supporting performance considering the amount of screen time. If you really wanted to do category fraud and slip her in there, you could have.
Yeah.
But the fact that she was not nominated and won for Best Actress for this monologue alone, which is just one of the best. This is why she's in my all-time top 5, and she will never leave it. She's one of the best actresses of all time. But this is the kind of showcase, set-piece sort of shit. The transition of those two... girls did you, by any chance, happen to fuck them?
Yeah.
The transition of that, the build-up, the pace, everything is just... She is milking every line of dialogue. And I also just think, because you know the stories of how he likes to shoot things and the number of takes, I'm just like, how long were they filming this scene? This scene in particular with each other? Because I'm sure you read some behind-the-scenes stuff. There was, you know, he's, I guess what you would call a method director in some cases. And he kept that, he wanted to build this uneasiness, this distrust. He interviewed them separately beforehand, basically serving as like a marriage counselor, like, tell me your insecurities about the other person and everything.
And to this day, they
all
have
separate
not said
from
what
each
they
other.
say, yeah.
And yes, and it's like she was not, she could not be around for any of the mansion stuff, and he could not be around for any of the vision sequences that we're going to get a little later. So the idea of them sitting down to watch the final cut of that, and that's the first time they probably know, like, oh, what the fuck? Like, that tension is inherent. And it's like, I don't know if it needed that extra layer of manipulation.
Do you think this ruined their marriage?
There. I mean, I think a lot of people want to point to this as the thing that did it. And no, I think his fucking Scientology is what ruined their marriage. There's also people who think that this movie apparently is like a big slight at Scientology. Like, okay, I guess. I don't know many Scientologists that are doing these crazy ass sex parties, but who knows? L. Ron Hubbard did like to have like a bunch of underage girls on his boat.
I mean, that's what we all... I mean, at the end of the day, that's all any of that shit. It's all bullshit.
Right.
It's all hoodoo. It's all jokes.
We'll get to it. Because
Yeah.
Okay. I know that's all we really want to talk about. That should be this whole episode. Anyways, he put something out on the table, which is kind of basically along the lines of, I know women.
No,
No.
I just love that he's like, because I happen to be a doctor. Like, his excuse is, she's like, so when you're feeling up tits, like, it does nothing for you. And he's like, well, yeah, they're my patients. Like, what the and that, in my head, I'm like, yeah, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
right.
That would be weird as shit. Do you know how much malpractice you guys be paying? You'd be in the poorhouse. What the hell? And she's like, that's basically her argument. Is like, oh, well, you're saying that, like, the only reason that you wouldn't fuck these two is because you're married to me. Not that you don't want to.
Right.
But it's because you're married to me. And he's like, no, I fucking, like, I know women. I trust you. You wouldn't be unfaithful to me. You wouldn't lie to me. I've never lied to you. I've never been unfaithful to you. You know, I'm a doctor. And, you know, what you smoke too much, man. Like, what are you doing? You're killing my high right now.
Right.
To which she divulges, oh, yeah, well, last year when we were away, guess what? I saw this Navy officer, dude, and I was like, holy fuck. And then pretty much the entire time we were there, I couldn't stop thinking about him. And, yeah, I never felt more tender and closer to you, but I also was thinking I could fuck the shit out of this guy, and I wouldn't give a goddamn.
And I would give up my life with you and our daughter
to do that shit.
Care.
That is up there with like some of that shit that what's his face says to her in the bedroom to me. On like this kind of shit you're telling your spouse.
Beyond that.
Way up there.
It takes the uncomfortability of that and just like cranks it up.
Yeah, that's where you start, and then we crank it from there. You're right. And essentially, she's like, I felt relieved when he wasn't here, but I also was like immensely sad about the whole thing. You know, it's in a weird spot, and that's what I was getting at with what it does is because like obviously the putting on the makeup and the going out and the party thing, and the visualization and being around it is what's done it for them to kind of charge them up to like have sex the night before.
Right.
But if they actually start to think about it, they're realizing that like, well, we don't really know each other to like 100%. There's still things we can't see in each other. Our eyes are wide shut when it comes to that. And I think ultimately that is like obviously what kicks off this journey for him, which actually starts with the being called away because of a patient's past.
Yes, again, saved by the bell, as he will be many times throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. But before he can even really articulate a response to any of this, he gets a phone call. He's got to make a house call. One of his patients died.
Right.
And this starts the runner of the next 2 days, which is he will essentially be tempted at every single turn. Whether he is oblivious to it or not, every character that he meets for the next night and a half and day wants to fuck him. And there's the potential that he could be unfaithful and fuck him. Mind you, all she has told him at this point is a thought from her brain. That's it. She was just very honest and open about a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then basically for the next hour for the next hour and a half we're watching male ego on display of he can't help himself, dude. And he's driving in this fucking car and he's having his visions, man. And again, the idea that Tom Cruise did not know what went on in those filming sequences and like he's watching it happen as the movie is happening is mind-blowing to me.
Right.
But he's having visions of her with this naval officer, and they're very like style. They almost look like an old like stag film or something. They're like.
It would be really great if it was Anthony Edwards.
If it was Anthony Edwards specifically,
yeah.
Okay,
in his old Navy uniform. Just
okay.
Top Gun callback. I'm sorry,
sure.
That's terrible. Yeah, and so. Again, yeah, you're right. Every person, but we did forget that while at the Christmas party, he meets an old med school friend.
Yes, Nick Nightingale,
who's like, "Hey, man, I'm in town." Like,
played by director of In the Bedroom, Todd Field.
Yes, he's like, "I'm in town. I'm here at this club. Like, I got the wife and kids out on the West Coast, but I'm here. Come look me up, man. I'm here for a while. It's Christmas." So, he leaves the
grieving family.
Yes.
And again, she like
throws herself at him.
This daughter who he's like, we've met one other time.
Right.
Like, I love it. And then also his doppelganger shows up.
Yes.
Still don't quite know what that's about. That's one of those things I've never quite been able to square like thematically. Like, why does this guy need to look exactly like Tom?
No, he's reverse.
His hair is parted differently.
No.
Yeah, excuse me. Go ahead.
They're the inverse. The wife and Cruise are on the same level. Nicole Kidman and the guy from Dharma and Greg are like, they're on the same level. They both have glasses. They both dress the same. They both appear the same. They're the flipped image of what they are, just not as rich.
Okay.
He stands.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Okay.
Did I?
Or you read some good trivia.
I watched some good movies. Anyway, or good YouTube videos. Anyway, but yeah, no, they're the flipped image of like they are not as rich because this old person has died, and essentially they will become rich off of what's going to happen. So they're about to ascend to Tom. It's almost like they're the lower rung. They're about to ascend to the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman level. And again, like you said, if Bill and Alice play their cards right, they'll be at the Illuminati level soon.
Right. Yeah. But they haven't been fully accepted yet.
Right.
So yeah. So now he decides he's gonna go. Well, no, he hasn't even decided to go to the Sonata Cafe yet.
He's just walking around.
This is when he meets Domino.
Right.
Who's... I'm sorry, but tell me where you can find a hooker like this in New York City. Who, for $150?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's Tom Cruise, but $150? I was like, that's a bargain, right?
Right.
Is that like, I don't know.
That's 1990s, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
Inflation, who knows?
But anyways, they come in. I gotta be honest, as much as like people have given him shit about being kind of asexual, he does, because of his natural charisma, when you put him in these sequences where he needs to be like
disarmed and he doesn't know what he's doing, so to speak.
Well, no, but I think like flirty and engaging, because he basically is just, the mindset seems to be, when he decides to come in here, like, I think that's what would make me feel better, is if I fuck a stranger. And it's like, dude, she didn't fuck a stranger.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
She thought about it, bro. Yeah. Like, I understand you're thinking about it, but like,
this isn't Minority Report. Like, you can't be arrested for your thoughts, man. We still have our thoughts,
He's like, I'm going to make a movie about this in like 2 years. Steven, I have an idea.
Remember that one book from a long time? Anyway,
it's not L. Ron Hubbard, I promise. It's Philip K. Dick. Tom, how many times have I told you we're not making Battlefield Earth? Let Travolta have it.
You mean the simulation theory guy? The guy who thinks we're all living in a simulation? Yeah. Weird. Hey, by the way, you seen trailers for that Matrix movie we're going to be up against? Sorry.
Anyway. Don't worry about it.
It's the guy from Speed. No one cares.
It's Ted or Bill or one of them. I don't
know. Larry Fishburne's in there. Come on.
Johnny Utah.
Utah. Give me 2.
Why'd he cut his hair?
All right. Yeah, so you get so he's about to again, and she calls.
Literally, she calls, and again at this point, like once they separate, we're checking in on Kip every once in a while, but it's definitely it's the cruise show, it's the Odyssey.
Yes.
For the rest of the time out. So that's enough to make him kind of have a moment of a crisis of conscience, if you will, and be like, yeah, I guess I should leave. But he's a classy gentleman and he pays her, even though they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I think he overpays her. I think he gives her like $300, even though they agreed to $150.
Yeah.
I just assume he's only pulling out hundreds from this like endless wallet of cash, you see.
What you don't see is he's walked to 3 different ATMs the entire time and just taken out cash. And managed to not get mugged at all.
He managed to not feed a kitten to it as well.
Yeah.
But sorry, wrong movie.
What? Feed a kid into the ATM? What are you talking about?
American Psycho. Feed me a kitten.
Oh,
when the ATM tells him to feed him a kitten.
I thought you said feed a kid into it, and I was like, whoa, what movie have I missed?
A kitten.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Or feed me that stray cat. I forget what it says.
Yeah.
It's like very direct. And then he can't fit it in there, so he's going to shoot it, but then the cops show up, and he starts shooting stuff, and it's exploding.
Yeah.
Do that movie sometime.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, anyways.
It's under the limit. Yeah, we could do that.
So...
he's back on the street and he's in the cafe.
Yes, now he just kind of stumbles past and it's like, oh, this is not a cafe.
Yeah.
It just happens to be here. So he catches the very last song of Nick Nightingale's set.
I love that he's like a beer. It's like, do you not know what to order here, man? Have you ever been asked what drink you want before?
That's also just a movie thing, though. And I even said this to Veronica when he says that because it always makes me laugh, too. I'll have a beer. Where I'm just like, okay, it's one of a couple things. It's either A, they didn't want to pay for a sponsorship or allow an alcohol sponsor. So they just say beer. And I'm like, there's so many movies that do that. And TV shows where it's like, oh, yeah, I'll have a beer. And it's like, in no real world scenario would that not be followed by, well, do you want a Coors or a Bud? Do you want a draft? Do you want bottle? Like, in any scenario, they're going to ask you more
but like
questions.
later on in the movie, he's like, Scotch, this and that. So it's like, either he doesn't want to get that fucked up, or he's just, I don't care, I'm not going to be here long. I'm just beer, whatever you want. Like, he's not planning on having more than one. He's just going to drink the one and that's it. Or, or this big bar that they built in Pinewood is the kind of bar that only serves beer and they don't have liquor. So he has to say beer.
I forget what Nick Nightingale's drinking, yeah. Anyways, they chat after the set, and he mentions that, yeah, I actually have another gig later tonight. It's like, dude, we're already after midnight right now. Like
1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
They don't get going until around 2, and you're like, all right. And then he says the one line from the trailer, which is, I've seen a thing or two in my day, but nothing like this. And then the trailer does not give you the follow-up, which is, and never such women. And that's the thing where Cruz is like, wait, what? What's going on?
I play blindfolded.
Yeah, I play blindfolded. The whole setup, dude. And some people think it's like indulgent and ridiculous. This movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I could watch it again tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To me, the pace is 100% dreamlike. That comes down to the dialogue as well. Where it's like, nobody actually talks at this pace, but it just makes sense in this movie. And the slow build of like, I play blindfolded. And like, he's just like, and eventually Cruz is just like, dude, you have to like fucking tell me more about this, etc.
Well, you could argue that, like, Nick's just seen him at a fancy party, and Nick knows that he is a fancy doctor. So Nick is just playing at that party, nothing special.
And we subsequently find out, he's done it once or twice before, but because we don't know if this is like does it stay in this location?
Or does it move
a traveling thing? We don't
because
know.
he says, I don't know where I'm going until right beforehand.
Right.
But also, this is it, and you talk about the dialogue. To me, this is his one time to shine. I have something that he wants to know about. It puts me in the spotlight. I'm the center of attention. Again, we're stroking male egos this entire time. We give Nick Nightingale his own due of like, I do this thing. I've been wanting to tell somebody, I really can't. This is some dude I know, but like I don't know. What's the harm in me saying something to make myself look good?
Exactly, but I also think, maybe in the back of my head, I think he's kind of square enough that like
he's
probably not involved, and it's not like he would just randomly show up.
Right.
There. And then he gets a phone call, and Todd Field only did a little bit of acting. Again, please make another movie, dude. He's only done 2 movies, but this little moment, the transition from when he answers his phone to when he realizes like who it is, when he straightens up for no, sir, yes sir, like totally just like changes his vibe and is like very professional, like yes I know where it is, and like writing everything down. But yeah, the transition from the tone he has when it's just him and Cruz bullshitting and he's kind of like you said, kind of showing off like, oh I've got this thing or whatever, and it's your first inclination of like, oh okay, this is like
interesting.
This might be some serious shit. It already sounds kind of, but your brain is on fire. It's just like, well, what could it be? And blah blah blah. And then especially when he's like, well, dude, you can't just show up. Everybody's always masked and wearing cloaks. Where are you gonna get a costume at this hour? Boom. That's the other thing I love is like all of these dialogue scenes are like little dances and little rhythmic things almost, where it's like they kind of just, there's this slow kind of build around, and then when he gets to like the crescendo, it's like boom, we're on to the next scene. There's no like, and he does a lot of like crossfades where it's like as lines of dialogue are finishing, we're into the next scene or back in motion again with Cruz like moving on the street. And it just creates this like flow where you never get too bogged down in, even though these things are like ostensibly pretty boring, like standard setup, but just like they're just dialogue scenes. Again, it's one of his more talky movies, but to me you never get bored, partly because there's always something fucking amazing to look at in the frame or just the lighting to appreciate, but also because the dialogue is almost in concert with. And
didn't they like
the rhythm and the feel?
They moved the lighting back 2 f-stops, right? They did something. I remember where they moved the lighting back 2 f-stops than what it would normally be before they processed it. So like it gave him more control over every piece of light in the movie because of they shot it.
That's how you get that, like, it's not quite amber, it's not quite gold. It's just a particular tinge where I said last night, I was like, as soon as they went to the Christmas party, I was like, I just want to live in this color palette.
Right.
And same thing when they go into the Sonata Cafe. I'm like, I just want to live. I want a room that feels and looks like this.
Yeah, same thing with the blue for night, like through the windows in their apartment, the blue that comes through. Yeah. That's never happened anywhere on planet Earth.
Right.
But
like, it looks right.
It looks amazing.
It looks
Anytime
incredible.
anybody does day for night and there's a blue twinge to it which, I mean, it could be, light from the moon / other buildings, but it's still like, it's still really beautiful, like just that haunting blue. It's the same kind of like blue light you would put on like like a Michael Myers when he sits up kind of thing.
Right.
So he tells them the password,
which is Fidelia.
Yes, and then he tells
Senior
them
yearbook quote.
Yeah,
1 of 2.
Yes, and then he tells them, you're gonna have to get an outfit, dude. Like, where you gonna do that? And,
fucking Rainbow Fashions. Yep. Are you the present owner of Rainbow Fashions? I love this guy. Forget the actor's name. He's one of those, I feel like, been in a billion things. Mr. Milich.
Milich, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some great moments of comedy. Like the whole, first of all, that whole like spouse breakdown scene, like after they smoke the pot, the bedroom scene. When I watch it now, I get this like delicious glee out of like the way she delivers all of that, where I start chuckling at just like how mean and deliberate it is, and how she knows he's fucking, like how she's pressing his buttons. But there are some moments of genuine comedy, and when he is just like, I'd be willing to pay you $100 over the rental price. He's like, I don't think so. And he's like, okay, $200? Okay. And then boom, just cut to
yeah,
like
that's all it took was another $100.
So funny to me. So yeah, and he's milking. And again, this is like, I feel like part of what I love about this movie in general, and the fact that it is more dialogue heavy, is he somehow manages to maintain a bit of the tone of the very middle of The Shining, which is my absolute favorite sequence, which is when Lloyd, your friendly bartender, finally shows up, and he starts talking to him. It's the first time where you're like, oh, okay, Jack Nicholson is fully in the bag, lost his marbles.
Is that the little slow tonight, isn't it?
Yes. And then
that's my favorite.
And then he shows up, you got the whole bar scene, and then I think there's a break in between, but then when he comes back and he talks to when Delbert Grady spills the Advocat on him, and they have the bathroom scene. Yeah. Those two dialogue scenes, because the rest of that movie is so dialogue free.
Right.
And so much about just the tone and the mood and everything. But then carries the weirdness of the rest of the movie into those dialogue scenes with the pace, with the reveals. It's like every single scene in this movie is those scenes, just like stretched out further and further. But yeah, I love Milich and all of this. And the first time I was watching it, where I, again, as a 13-year-old kid, just trying to process, like, wait, what's going on with these Japanese businessmen and Lily Sobieski? What is going on here?
Who, like, not even a year or two ago was in, like, Jungle to Jungle?
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, very weird. This was my favorite piece of trivia. I know you read this one.
What's that?
Lily Sobieski apparently has a thing of taking a lock of hair from her famous co-stars, and then the note afterwards is, Tom Cruise did not take part in this.
Yes.
And I was like, do you know that's some weird, like,
Scientology
I can't let
rule?
you take my essence, or my thetan levels will be diminished,
Exactly,
and I cannot let you.
You cannot clone a Scientologist, which is obviously going to be her endgame.
Yeah, you cannot have hair from my... He's like, let me tell you more about my church. I don't know why he
I
all of a
would
sudden
love
has
it.
an
I would
accent.
love it if, like, Paul Walker wasn't down, but Steve Zahn was like, you could have 2 locks of mine. Somewhere Ted Levine's like, no way.
He wasn't on set, dude.
Yeah, of course.
He was just chilling.
Bitches are getting my hair. Like, he's just like, nope, not having it.
Oh, man.
Whatever happened to her, man?
Sobieski?
Yeah.
We say that, and I'm like, did I just see her in something recently?
I think she was. She's like the only actress I'm like, you should have been Helen Hunt's child in every movie she ever made.
They just need to get her and Julia Stiles in like a great, like, they should be doing like a Susan Sarandon, Goldie Hawn, Banger Sisters, Meryl Streep paired with Annette Bening or something sort of movie. But it should be them now.
Yeah.
Julia Stiles and Lily Sobieski.
Yeah. And there's got to be at least 2 more we could rank.
And Josh Hartnett. And
Ben Foster.
No.
Oh, come on.
Ben Foster is Ben Foster, all right?
Yeah.
We're trying to take people from that era who never
Shannon
quite
Sossman.
fully popped. Get Shannon Sossman in there.
Yep.
So is it just 40 Days, 40 Nights, the sequel? And like those are the other 2 women that are tempting him
What
away?
about Andrew Keegan?
Or it's also it's Here and Now when he did. Is that the one with him and Chris Klein?
Whatever
Klein
it
does?
takes is Chris Klein and
No.
and Shane. What's his face?
Chris Klein's not in Whatever It Takes. That's Franco and...
That is Franco. You're right. Chris Klein's just American Pie, then, isn't it?
It's Chris Klein, Hartnett, and Sobieski. What is that movie? It's not called Here and Now?
Maybe it is. Yeah, that is. It's Here Now. You're thinking Now and Then, the female.
No, I'm not
from
thinking
the
of
90s.
Now and Then. In fact, I'm not.
Now and Then.
I'm talking about
Here and Now. It's all.
Hartnett and her are already together.
Right.
Chris Klein is like the rich boy, the fucking little rich boy.
Yeah.
Who steals her away.
Right.
And Josh Hartnett's like a perfectly nice guy about it the whole fucking time. And he gets fucked over.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I never saw it. But
What is it called?
I think
not
that's what
it's
it is.
called.
It's got to be it.
All I know is it had a Goo Goo Doll song in the trailer.
And you were all about
coming down the world around you. You know?
Maybe.
What is it called, dude?
I'm looking it up.
I would, but my phone, I'm at like 1%. It will die if I try to look up anything.
No, I don't want to hear it. You know what I have to do to get mine to charge? I have to wrap a rubber band around the cord, plug the cord in, and then wrap the rubber band around this pop socket.
I feel like you need a new charger.
Listen, you try telling our father that and see what happens.
You can't afford a charger?
No, the phone itself. The charger's just the port here.
We got to clean it, dog.
They just, no, I clean it out. They just fall out. I've had this phone for like 4 years.
Okay.
Also, that's rain if you're listening right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can...
I think that's our cue to start. Like, we got to move to the orgy and wrap it up. But.
Yeah. We're going to make it rain, all right. Go ahead. So, he gets a costume.
He gets the costume. There's the weird shit with Lily Sobieski and Milich and the Japanese businessman. And it's a little unsettling, but it's played for
We'll
laughs.
leave it for you because you're gonna watch it. You're gonna love it. You need something. You know.
All right, and then he's got his costume, so he is off to this mansion. And if it's your first time, you don't know what to expect.
Exactly.
And he tells the cabbie to wait for him. Rips up $100 bill, almost to say like, "Hey, you know I'm good for it. Would I rip up $100 bill if I wasn't serious?"
Right.
And so he's like, "Hey, yeah, you hang out. I could be 10 minutes. I could be, 2 hours. I could never come out. Who knows?
I might die in there. I could fucking die in here."
Yeah. So he goes to the front door with his mask off, which I'm immediately just like, dude, put your fucking shit on.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I don't think anybody else is walking up there without one on. Puts his mask on. He goes in, and they're just kicking into the Gregorian, or whatever chant this is, played in reverse. Extremely disturbing sequence. And yeah, and we're straight into a complete other world, essentially. Like I said, it's crazy. Like it's a Romanian Orthodox mass, I think. Excuse me. Played in reverse. There's the aforementioned Leon Vitali in a red cloak, gold mask, and like an incense smoker kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's a ritual. It's a ritual of some sort, and we see a bunch of masked women
then
form a circle.
Yes.
Disrobe. And then slowly pair off with people, one of which who grabs Tom Cruise. So now we have my first question about what's essentially referred to as the orgy sequence. The orgy house, the mansion, the house, whatever.
It's here on Earth.
Here on Earth, motherfucker. Hell yeah. All right. Not a good movie, by the way. But it does happen to star those three people that we mentioned. All right. My first question. Are the women in this circle, who we know for a fact one of them is a prostitute, okay? Are they the only people fucking? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so the crowd members and everything, a la Tom Cruise and everything, it's like, are you only fucking if you're chosen? And if so, are some of these other women who we see in these sequences, were they part of that group? Are they hired prostitutes, or are they the female counterparts of the people who are part of this thing who are also taking part in it?
See, here's my thing.
Because from what we know about True Detective Season 2, there is probably a sex trafficking angle here.
Probably. But here's my thing. This is about being married, okay? And this whole movie is about how he doesn't know his spouse in their marriage, okay? What this thing does is it tells you that the people watching are the married power couple elites. They don't come here to fuck. They come here to watch, because all those women are prostitutes, and they are choosing whatever single males there may be to do whatever with. And just like Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise did flirting, these people who are married, standing next to each other, watching women get fucked and railed and all crazy orgy, they take that home with them. And they use that as their passion for their own sex lives. Because, as we'll find out later, they don't need to fuck prostitutes. bad things can happen if you fuck prostitutes. So it's on the men who are single who are willing to take this risk that hopefully by the divine whatever crazy Illuminati thing they're worshiping, they don't catch herpes, AIDS, chlamydia, whatever, by fucking these prostitutes. That's my big takeaway. The only people who are fucking are single men.
Okay.
And the power elite that are watching over this, that's the ultimate power trip. They get to put on, host, and watch these men pretty much. They could be, you know, it could wind up being that like something happens there. Someone could get, we don't know people getting sacrificed. We don't know people, if one girl winds up.
That's really the thing of it. The more and more you go back to it, because of how things ultimately go with the Sidney Pollack scene, the billiard scene as it's known, towards the end. How much of it is artifice or how much of it is like there's something deeper going on here, like these people are legit into, because again, the level of seriousness, the fallout from what happens here, which is essentially they discover that there's
an interloper.
Yes, there's an interloper. Mm-hmm. And this woman tries to save him, and if you're paying attention, you know that it's Mandy. It's the girl from the OD. But if it's your first time, you'd be forgiven for like, okay,
because you don't really hear her talk that much in the first.
You barely hear her talk, and then of course,
but if you are a 13-year-old boy, you do pay attention. Oh my God, same tits. Yes,
exactly. So much so that we're gonna jump ahead just a bit. Eventually, well, we'll walk through it anyways. Tom Cruise has discovered. Okay, I want to slow down. Did you watch this on HBO Max?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen the unrated version of this orgy?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Again, second time I watched it.
Gotcha. So you've always seen it with the cardboard cutouts, essentially.
Yeah, I know there's supposed to be a lot more fucking going on.
I mean, it's literally the camera movements are the same. It's just things are obscured. You're not like physically missing any shots. You're just like, they're just arbitrarily, you know. And sometimes it doesn't make sense where you're like, dude, if somebody was standing that close to those people in that scenario, everybody else would be like, hey, fucker, move. The other thought I had this time watching it is I'm like, we have this very like kind of creepy Middle Eastern music playing over the walkthrough, the scene of like, I'm seeing all these people, I'm seeing all this wild sex going on. And like I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, well, obviously this is non-diegetic, right?
Right.
Like this is not what they're listening to in the moment. But I was like, but are they playing music, or is it like if we drop the sound out, all you would hear is just a lot of fucking.
Yeah.
Because of like, obviously you need music on because it would just be too fucking weird.
Right.
If that's what it was. But I was like, but obviously they're not playing this.
If you don't have music, you have to go full bore with the sounds. It has to be like primal chanting and like someone speaking. It's got to
be like Midsommar or something.
Right. Yeah. Yes. It has to be like that crazy level of like.
But you can't just have dead silence
yes.
and people fucking with the intensity level that they seem to be.
Or you do that. You have dead silence and the only sounds you hear are the flesh on flesh and like the moans and groans of people, to the point that like that is the ultimate of like, you know, control power. Like you're just sitting back watching this and you're not doing anything. You're not jerking off. You're not making out with your wife. You have a mask on. You're watching these people get, you know, she got her brains fucked out. That's what happened to her. You know, it's like, oh.
Great Pollock, by the way.
Yeah.
Just the idea that it was supposed to be Harvey Keitel. I think about him like delivering the same dialogue. And I'm like,
dude.
I don't know if it would have hit the same. It would have been a completely different tone. It would have been a little more Bad Lieutenant in there, probably. Okay. So, but yeah, I just had that thought. I was like, it would be so funny if he hard cut to just like, here's what it actually sounds like. He just dropped all the music out. One of the hardest laughs I had and opened my brain up to just like, well, what else is going on at this party? This mansion is fucking huge.
Yeah.
When they come and grab him, she's already tried to warn him like, hey, you should get out of here, blah, blah, blah. Both of our lives could be in danger. A guy comes in, like, kind of carries her, and then the gold mask dude comes up to him, and it's like, are you the gentleman who arrived with the taxi? And it's like, your driver would like to have a word with you. And then he walks him back through what again, you lose all spatial orientation. It's like the hotel from The Shining. Like, you have no idea how big this thing is, where anything connects to anything else, because it's so flowy, and you can't get a read on the layout of this place. So he walks him back through what I would essentially say is like the lobby near where he came through the entrance, but it's strangers in the night exchanging glances. It's like that old classic song, and there's people just like ballroom dancing, and I'm like, well, this shit's like what's going on the ground floor. Is like, is this where like the older folks who are just like, oh, I just want to dance with my sweetheart who I brought here. It's like
back in our day, we used to be down there getting it in.
The idea that this is going on at the same time, all of this other stuff is going on. And this is where I'm talking about the amount of people. So he was just off seeing all of this. He did the walkthrough and everything. And then he comes back through the lobby, and there's all these people dancing and everything. And it's a different vibe. It's a very different vibe than what's going on upstairs. And then again, the setup was, oh, your driver needs to speak to you. And then he walks him to corner, which I'm like, is this where the ritual was happening before, or is this a separate room entirely? And there's another there's another 150 people in there with fucking masks on, and when he first walks in there, that is one of those ultimate. If you just suffer from any kind of existential crisis centered around like dreams, where it's like, oh fuck, it's me. They're all against me. Yeah, I'm the one who's alone. That shot is one of the most unsettling things ever. It's just, they know you're not who you said you are. You've been found out, and they all know all at once. And those masks are so terrifying. Every single goddamn one of them that they cut to. And then, again, the great Leon Vitali with this voice, which for years with my friends, because I would show them, I would show the orgy sequence out of context because I was like, they've never heard of this movie. It'll blow their minds. They've had a little bit to drink, and they're just like, what the fuck is this? But for the longest time, I would just do the remove your clothes, or would you like us to do it for you? Jesus. Anyways, so he gets found out. He unmasks. They're like, and what is the password for the house? He's like, I picture, like, have they ever done a Family Guy joke where it's Peter Griffin? Because I picture Peter Griffin just like, just not being able to come up with anything.
Lombardo. It's Lombardo, isn't
it? But of course, I love the review, and I told you in our text thread later that, like, that's the whole thing, man. There was no second password, you dumbass. You should have been like, what second password? Anyways.
Or like, it's go fuck yourself. There is no second password.
So he's found out there, and here's my other question. I've always been so curious about it. What happens if he removes his clothes? Yeah. What happens if she doesn't intervene? Yeah. What do they do to him? Yeah. Where does it go from there?
Oh, they cut his dick off, obviously. That's where it goes.
Seriously, though, I'm like, what do they do to interlopers under normal circumstances?
Well, see, here's my thing. I think...
But then we hear that her whole sacrifice was a farce. But can we even believe that? Or is he just selling him a bill of goods to make him feel less bad about the fact that he caused this fucking woman's death? Because he wanted to get his fucking rocks off. And guess what? He didn't even do it. He didn't even fucking do anything. He literally got this woman killed so he could do what all these rich fucks are doing, which is just watch poor people fuck, apparently.
Yeah.
That's how they get their rocks off.
Listen, Noah, when money buys everything and you literally have whatever you want at your fingertips, you can do whatever you want.
No, I just do it to watch the expressions change. It's just like fucking Gandolfini in True Romance.
Oh my God. What I mean, listen, what if the whole bit is that, like, again, okay, because look at it this way. Every single time he could cheat, something happens to him and he doesn't, right?
Right.
What if every single time with minus the doctor lady or minus the patient woman, if he had fucked, he would have died? What if that is the whole bit? Every one of those women is potentially, they find the worst. They're filled with diseases and AIDS or whatever. And that's their whole bit, is they bring them in because it's like, we'll initiate the men into this way, and if, somehow they come through it and they haven't contracted a disease, well, then they can be part of our thing. Again, we don't know this. I'm just me speculating.
I was going to say, where are you getting the HIV thing? Because, yes, we know she's a drug user, but the HIV thing is connected to Domino.
But that's what I'm saying.
But you think Domino was involved with this?
How do we know Domino wasn't there that night?
I mean, we don't
we
necessarily.
Don't.
Sure.
He left and went to the cafe. What if she left and bounced and went there? And she got railed at that party as well. And guess what? Whoever did now has AIDS. We don't know that. There's so much ambiguity and so much left up to the imagination. Well, that is my favorite part about this, the back half of this entire movie.
That's the other thing I love is, like, you have this giant set piece here in the center, and it builds to this crescendo of, like, you've been found out, blah, 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 and, like, okay, she's going to self-sacrifice for you, and he's like, what will happen to her? And he's like, promises that are made here, blah, blah, blah. And then we leave that scene. We don't see him leaving the house, getting in his cab. Just, we hard cut to, he arrives home.
Yeah.
And then we get into, well, here's my dream. Here's my dream I had.
Wait a minute. Your dream sounds awfully suspicious.
So you're on this tip too. I've seen this movie a lot. Veronica said this, and I was like, I've never looked at it that way.
That she was there the entire time?
That she was there?
Yeah.
No, I've never had that thought.
You never have?
No, because of the look on her face after he says, I'll tell you everything, and we hard cut to the morning of that after he's presumably told her everything. And she is fucking pissed and upset and scared and terrified and everything all at once.
Do we have...
I've never thought she was there in secret, and obviously we would recognize her body. She's not one of the women, so where is she?
I'm saying she's there
in costume.
In costume.
You think she knows about it? She's known about it
with dude from the party
with the Hungarian guy.
Yeah, she's there with him.
When is she doing this all in the midst of what? So we cut back to her when she makes the phone call while he's at Domino's. So after she gets off the phone, she's getting out of her robe, stop eating her Devil's Food Snackwell cookies and watching TV, and she's getting all glammed up to put on a mask and a cloak and driving into upstate New York.
That's the beauty of it. She doesn't have to put on any makeup. She can be ready to go in 10 minutes.
Okay.
She tells the babysitter to come over. She's downstairs. She's in that guy's car. When he gets found out, she immediately says, "That's my husband. I need to get home before he is." And they leave right then and there. They make it back to her apartment before he is ever whisked out of the building, and none the wiser. And this is her trying to tell him, "I know what you've been up to. I know what you've been going on with because of what I said. I didn't do anything. I still didn't even fuck the Hungarian guy tonight. But I know where you've been because I just said something to you. And I'm begging you, don't push this any further."
I've never taken it that way.
That's the way I took it.
Never, ever taken it that way. I don't think she has anything to do with the party.
Then why is her dream so specific to what he has just witnessed?
It's thematically linked, but it's not, oh, I'm in this mansion and then I'm fucking a bunch of people. It's this whole metaphor about being trapped at the end of the world and them being naked and then there's all of a sudden these people and I blamed you because I thought it was ending, and it's more of a metaphor for just their marriage in general and temptation and all sorts of other stuff. But but Veronica, same thing. She thought there was kind of oh, was she at that party? And I was like, I've literally it's never even occurred to me. And even in thinking through it, I don't take it that way. Specifically because of the I'll tell you everything and the way that wraps up. We can get to it fairly quickly because we're almost 3 hours into this episode.
Well,
so we do need to wrap things up. It's a long movie. What do you
yeah, but at the same time,
I'm not saying you're
here's
dead
the thing.
wrong for your reading.
The only
the only
thing you could take from that is that it's only in her explaining it that you could look at it as oh well, it's a projection of because I'm trying to think. I don't know. Do they give you anything about their backstory, about when they were together, where they've been? Like they've been together forever, or they've only been together 9 years?
They have a 7-year-old daughter.
9
so they
years.
had 2 years of marriage before they had a kid.
Okay.
So you know it wasn't like we got married because she got pregnant. You know that.
Right.
Yes.
But we also don't know what she may have done at all before she ever met him.
What the fuck relevance does that have to anything?
Well, what if she was at this whole party deal a long time ago, and this is just a repressed memory?
A repressed memory from who?
Her.
So she's envisioning him in it, or you're saying her dream is a repressed memory? Her dream
is like not a repressed memory, but like her dream incorporates something that she hasn't told him.
I just want you to go back and listen to every line of dialogue she just says about the dream. It does not thematically connect, other than the idea of there were all these people and they were fucking.
When you left, it was better. I felt better, and then I was being fucked a lot by other people. Okay. To me, that says when I was alone before I met you, it was better. I got to fuck a lot of people. And if I'm connecting the dots, I just watched a party where one woman got fucked by a lot of people. In my head, there's just too much of a connection between what we've seen at that and what she connects to and says she sees in this thing, that you're right. It shouldn't connect, because then it's oddly too similar. We're all focused on one thing, and that's just too much.
The thing is not the thing. That's what I love about it, is it has this centerpiece and this element that will like light your brain on fire, and is the central tension of the movie. That it's what drives the whole fear factor of the back half. First time you're watching it, where it's like, are they gonna fucking kill him? Like, are they gonna come after his family? Like, where is this going? Who are these people? Mm-hmm. Like, how much more depth are we gonna get on this? And what you ultimately realize is, like, it doesn't fucking matter, because it's not about.
It never matters.
It's not about what was actually going on there. It's about thematically what it represents. That's why I feel like getting bogged down in whether she was there or not, to me, it further complicates things. Because if you look at the Stone conversation as like, this is her finally kind of loosening up or expressing a thought she's maybe had before, then it kind of betrays where it ultimately heads if she's been leading this double life the whole time. She's been doing this thing that she's like kept him separate from. So, okay. She tells him about this fucked up dream, etc. And then it's kind of just like, well, shit. And then the next morning, he drives back down to the Sonata Cafe. He's got his bag from Rainbow Fashions. Sonata Cafe is not open yet. He waits nearby. Eventually finds out he's staying at a hotel. We get the great Alan Cumming scene. If I'm blazing over something, please stop me. Alan Cumming's brilliant in this. I love. He was with two gentlemen, big guys.
Yeah.
He's got great line deliveries where I'm just like, dude, he was like putting on a clinic, and I love that like Kubrick was down for it, because it seems like an energy that you would almost not be okay with. Like,
I read that Kubrick didn't know he was
British or Scottish.
Scottish,
rather.
yeah. He thought he was
American.
Yeah,
yes.
That's pretty wild.
I like the idea of like Kubrick was a big Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion fan.
Yeah,
and he was like, oh, I like this Alan Cumming. I gotta get him in my next picture. That's what I like to think, anyways. But I know he was a writer, director, and like had done shit beforehand.
Yeah, this has like 5 other directors in.
They had Tom Cruise listed as one of those directors, and I'm like, what did he direct? Am I drawing a complete blank?
Maybe he did like some of the like bits for like the Les Grossman thing he was doing after Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, it's just
like
weird that they would have him
like,
listed as a director.
I don't know.
We're getting off in the weeds. Sorry. Okay. Jesus, that was ominous.
Really?
Okay.
Stay on track, boys. You notice the entire time we've been talking about Eyes Wide Shut, that has not happened. The minute we deviate, it starts thundering. So let's keep going.
Okay. So
gives the costume back.
Gives the costume back. We can skip over the Lily. So I don't even want to begin to explore what I think is going on there, or how it maybe thematically connects. It is the one thing that it's like, this is kind of independent of this circular kind of thing that he's tapped into and seems to be the driving force of everything.
Yeah.
This is the one element of the previous night not connected to any of that, along with Domino.
Right.
Presumably. Those are 2 clandestine things that just he took part in. Mm-hmm. That have no connection. None of those people have any knowledge of the other stuff he did.
Because, yeah, and again, as much as I'm like, oh, Domino could have been there, if she does, then it's just too small. It's too small world.
That's what I'm saying. This is New York.
Yeah.
And it's like...
But it's
high society New York, which maybe seems like a... But again, I feel like this party is international.
That's upstate New York. They drove out. They drove out of the city.
That's what I'm saying. It is upstate, but I feel like that crowd, the size of it, the whole pomp and circumstance, the ritual of it all. I'm like, this feels like the elite of the world, like the most powerful people in the world, financially speaking.
Rumor has it
influential, etc.
Rumor has it that back in the 40s, the party was actually held at the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The anniversary was just this past July.
Really?
It was like the 100-year anniversary because it's 1921. Mm-hmm. It's the 1921 Overlook holiday or New Year's Eve ball, or no, 4th of July.
Yeah, there's
ball
a 4th of July
is
ball,
what it is. So yeah, it was the 100-year anniversary this past 4th.
That's wild.
It was very cool. Okay. Sorry.
Goes back to Domino. Domino's not there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're on the next morning. Alan Cumming tells him, though, that Nick was escorted out by 2 guys.
Didn't look happy.
Yeah, it looked like he might have been scared.
Tried to pass me a note, but they took it from him.
Yeah.
They told him to just afford everything there.
Before he goes back to Domino's place, he goes to the mansion.
Yep. That was
one
creepy
of the
as
most
fuck.
unsettling scenes in this movie.
So many things unsettling.
Rings the gate. Limo drives up. Can't even see the driver's face. And then I don't know where he finds old creepy British men, but he's just really good at finding them.
Probably his neighbor.
This guy says nothing, hands him an envelope. Cease your inquiries, which are completely useless. We hope this will be sufficient. Essentially, like, stop fucking with us, or you're like, something bad's gonna happen to you. And you're like, holy shit. Veronica's biggest reaction, she was like, they are serious. They had it all typed out. They had an envelope with his name on it already. Like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, they mean business, clearly. So then he goes, finds out Domino just got some test results. And again, the sexual tension with I love how he's just like, well, I came here because he's kind of retracing his steps. He still can't get the image of the sailor out of his brain. And you're kind of like, okay, he's just literally retracing his steps through the night, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go have sex with that hooker, the thing I didn't follow through on, because she told me about this dream she had. It's not something she did. It's a dream. So we've had a thought and a dream. I only bring up all of this because it's Traum Novelle, the whole theme of the book that it's based on. It's all
dream story,
real or imagined, sort of and it's all the unspoken things that we don't say to each other, the daydreams, etc., all that shit. So he's retracing his steps, and he's going with the purpose of like, all right, I didn't fuck this lady last night, I got interrupted. Okay, she's not there. Okay, it's her roommate. All right, well, she's pretty attractive too. All right, I think I'm gonna do this, and it's escalating. She seems like she's down for it, but she's like, I do feel like I gotta tell you something, though. By the way, Domino found out she's HIV positive, and presumably she doesn't know if Cruz was with her the previous night, with her.
She just said that he was nice to her.
Right. So that's enough to at least break the mood where it's like, okay, well, I don't know how to recover from this one, when he could be like, well, we didn't do anything, so
yeah,
we can still get it on if you want to. Mm-hmm. But it's enough to kind of kill the mood, so he doesn't do that. He swings back by the house again, I believe. Or no. Excuse me.
He is leaving.
Somewhere in the midst of this, he sees the newspaper. Oh, gosh.
He gets the newspaper, and he
that
goes
sequence
and sits
is terrifying
down.
as well, when he's being followed.
Yeah.
And you're so focused on the dude who's following him that you're not expecting the payoff is going to be, he picks up a newspaper and he sees drug overdose.
You saw. I love the headline story.
Oh, what?
Lucky to be alive.
Oh yeah.
He's lucky to be alive. Literally having just dodged a bullet, finding out that
yes.
Thank God you didn't. Thank God your wife saved you from sleeping with that prostitute last night, because you dodged a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so from here he goes to the hospital. He checks on her. He goes to the morgue. When they get to the morgue, this was a question we had. I know it's a morgue, but is it standard practice to not cover up the patients at all? I I feel like every movie, they're always straight up naked. But in reality, I'm like, they put covers on those people, right?
It depends on if a death kit's been done or not. If a death kit's been completed, then yeah, they're usually covered completely.
Okay.
That's total bullshit. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I'm just saying it.
I was like, bottom line, it's a practical consideration. We've only seen her twice. She was topless both times, and one of them she was wearing a mask. I was like, thematically and storytelling-wise, we need to see her tits, because that's the only way to identify her. I was like, I'm sorry to say it, but whether it's accurate or not, I understand why they need her to be naked in this scene. And Veronica was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But
and now we're assuming he knows who she was from the night before?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, here's the line of dialogue over her, which is like, it could cost me, or cost you and me our lives, essentially, as he's looking at her dead corpse. So yeah, he knows it's her from the night before. The question is whether he made the connection that it was Mandy.
That's what I meant.
Until
I'm asking.
Until Ziegler.
Did he knew it was Mandy at the party?
I don't think so.
That's what. Yeah, because that reveal when he because Ziegler calls him, tells him to come by.
Yeah, right after he leaves the hospital. Basically, he's basically like, "Hey, I got to wrap up the movie. Do you want to come over to my place and I'll explain the remainder of the movie to you.
You're really just
like
not
you're never going to put it together yourself. So
I'm a real director. I'll let you know what's up.
We have the great billiard room scene where he lays out everything. And this, I feel like for some people, they absolutely hate this payoff. And some people, it totally works. But yeah, so how, for you, I guess, do you believe it? Do you believe...
Not one goddamn bit.
Okay, I was going to say, do you believe what if I told you this was all a farce and everything? Because I'm like...
Well, see, here's the thing.
Then it's like, is the whole thing theater? Is the ritual, is all of it theater? Or...
This was just an elaborate hoax by Ziegler to get him to love his wife? Because it's like, I noticed that you guys were apart at the party, and I wanted to make sure that you two kids got to our level, so I made this whole thing up.
You get the idea that Ziegler is regardless of how long he's been in this, he's not the top tippity
of course
top.
not, no.
And that's what I think is so great about when you juxtapose the parties and everything, is the opening party seems so rich and extravagant and fancy, etc. And of course, when he comes over, they're in this giant library, drawing room, and he's got a full bar and shit. And you're like, he seems like he's on the low rung of whatever this next thing is. Mm-hmm. And that's when he has one of the most bone chilling lines in any screenplay to me, and it's delivered perfectly. But the people in that room, I'm not gonna tell you their names, but if I did tell you their names, let's just say you wouldn't sleep so well at night. Mm-hmm. And it's just dude, that's there's a similar thing in True Detective Season 2, a similar line delivery as well, where it's just it's so much more terrifying, just the implication of well, yeah, you saw all those people, you saw how many people were there in masks, and you see how serious these people are, and what they're into, and the lengths they'll go to cover things up, etc. Mm-hmm. When you start thinking about who might be under those masks, it is pretty fucking scary.
Which, if you parlay that into the mask that maybe your spouse is wearing, that you can't truly see her, it only pushes you towards the inevitable end we get, which is comes home, finds out the mask is on the bed, and the breakdown. And it's this weird... It's probably one of my favorite times in Tom Cruise's movie history. There's just this utter look on his face of I am safe here. Yes, he may have gone out and done whatever, and if he just leaves it alone, apparently he'll be fine. But I went out into the night, I did these things, I got this close to being there, and I didn't. And I come home, and I could be mad that I didn't. But the journey I just went on proved to me that, it doesn't matter whether or not I can see my wife if my eyes are wide shut, or if I know her, what it is, what she told me, the thought she had, the dream she said she had. It doesn't matter, because here I'm, quote unquote, safe. Mm-hmm. And the breakdown of that is just, probably one of my favorite parts that I've seen him do. Just moments of his, I don't know how genuine it is. I don't know what it took to get there. I don't know how many takes it is. I know, obviously, the backstory of like not being able to see her and all that. So I don't know when you shoot these or when you don't. But it's as far as the whole party thing, I could see it as completely bullshit. This is a huge thing that he happened to stumble upon, and he just needs to walk away and let them know, my bad. Because honestly, dude, I walk into that party, first thing I see is that shit. I'm the first guy out the room. No, I'm good. I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm not staying for nothing. You know, you don't know me. I don't know you. I was in the wrong. I'm sorry. I'm getting back in my cab and I'm leaving. And I'm telling the cabbie, look, here's another $400. Change your plates. Maybe move across town, work for a different company. You don't know me. You never saw me. Nothing. Okay? Thank God there's no cell phone so they can't track, like, you know, the fact that his phone or the IP address would have been whatever. Because I'm not fucking with it. Because whether or not you want, it's a fun joke. Oh, it's the Illuminati. It's whatever. But it's like, when you are so fucking rich you can do whatever you want, you obviously start having, like, cult-like mass orgy shit. Like, what else is there to do? You know? Aside from like Hostel, where you're like,
it's where all roads lead. Inevitably,
yeah, it's a winding road down the Bohemian Grove, and you're just gonna be fucking. That's what you're gonna do. True power corrupts, and that's the ultimate form of corruption, right there. But I also could see it as these people are well paid. They're in government. They're in infrastructure. They're in everything. So, in order to not oust themselves, they need to take it to a certain level of fear to be like, look, let it go. We know who you are, Bill. Haha, look at funny Bill. He trying to interlope with us. If he'd have gone through the right channels, we'd have let him in, no problem.
Right.
But he's trying to jump. He's not paying his dues. He's not taking his time to work his way up. So, more than like who's behind those masks, I'm thinking everybody behind these masks knows it's me now.
All right.
Why would I ever want to do... Nope. Because you know no one's ever going to tell you, besides your good buddy doctor friend who basically might have saved your life, and essentially, regardless, ultimately Mandy did save his life because by having that overdose, he's there. He's got something that he could hold. I mean, he doesn't go help the doctor out with Mandy. How do we know that he sticks his neck out for him and says,
"Oh, 100%,
leave him be. It's fine. I'll handle it. It'll be fine." You know, they pin it all. I mean, they could all pin it on Nick Nightingale.
You can even look at that. You can even look at that sequence though, where he brings him in there as an audition for like, how can he be discreet? He's helping. He clearly knows I'm having an extramarital affair at my own party. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when you start to think about it, it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense that like you guys are going to these clubs where clearly your wife is like cool or down or whatever because she's letting you do this like at your party. But yeah, you could almost look at that scene as the audition for like, he's kind of grooming Bill. He's bringing him along to see if like they can induct them. And you could even like your Hungarian guy. He's a tester. He's a feeler to see like, can we seduce Alice into this? And she doesn't go for it. She says, I'm married.
Yeah. But because she says I'm married and because Bill slides it with him, I believe like if they play, because he talk about like if I play enough my cards right, or like they're kind of like they're stuck where they're at with like the job and the child and the marriage and all that.
There's really none of that. No,
he doesn't talk about like not being satisfied with what he's doing.
No, there's no dialogue about that being an issue. They're extremely well off.
Yeah.
They seemingly have everything. You just get the vibe that like the Zieglers are much more well off.
Don't they say something about not liking to go to these parties? Like I shouldn't have been. You know, because there's something about not liking the party they went to. Or like having to do.
I don't know if that's the people or the schmoozing or whatever it is.
Right, but there is some. I would maybe it's not a ton, but there is some slight aversion to being where they are, not liking having to do that. Like, hey, it was a great party. We'll have to tell them it was great because they need to tell them. Because if they don't, then it's going to look like a faux pas socially. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you do argue that. I could take your argument that like this is a grooming process, but because. You know.
But again, all of that is irrelevant to the themes of the movie.
Right.
But practically speaking, at the very end, I love the hard cut to what her face looks like after he's presumably told her everything.
Right.
You get the great shot of she's like, eyes are bloodshot red. She looks like white as a sheet, essentially. She's smoking a cigarette with her wedding ring very prominently in the frame. And then, of course, we cut to him, and he also is kind of like, grabbing his face, wedding ring prominently in the frame. And then her only real response is like, hey, promised the kid we were going to take her Christmas shopping today. So we got to do that, basically. And their talk, it's kind of, the conversation keeps getting broken up as they're like working their way up and down the aisles. And it's like the first time you're watching it, part of you is like, you're not expecting this as the last scene.
Right.
You're like, it's not going to end here, right? Like in Toy Story? Like, what? You're not expecting it. But this really hit me this time watching it, which is she brings up the thing and she's like, I think all of we should be grateful. All of our experiences we've been through, whether they were real or only a dream. She says it in such a way where it's like, and again, that look I read on her face, which is just like, you motherfucker. I tell you something, like, yeah, I was being a little shitty about it, but I tell you a genuine emotion I had, a thought I had, a passing thought I had about a guy one time. You go off, almost have sex with a hooker who you would have gotten HIV from, because I'm assuming he told her everything that he did. You went to a random club, you met your buddy, you end up at a house orgy, you watch all these people fuck. You may have endangered our entire family and our livelihood with the Illuminati, who we now have to live in fear of for the rest of our lives, possibly. By the way, Ziegler's like connected to this, etc. But it's like, you went and did all of this. All I did was have a thought and tell you about a dream. But there's just a tone to it where she's like, she's pissed off. Mm-hmm. She's pissed off but she's also coming to terms with like, okay, well, I see what I did to his psyche, etc. Mm-hmm. He was tempted, but hey, at the end of the day, he didn't do anything. And ultimately, I don't think any of our actions can be, judged by one night sort of thing. No dream is just a dream, blah, blah, blah. And then she has the killer last line, which I won't even attempt to ruin or butcher for people, but it's the greatest last line in cinema history. And it's a great note to leave it on. But prior to that, he is very much like been through this experience and he's recommitted of like, forever. I want to be with you forever. You're the one for me. I know that now. Like, I was uncertain, but now I'm sure. And she, very practically speaking, and true to her character and the way she's been the whole time, is like, don't say that. That word, like, freaks me out and everything. And part of you wants to be like, oh, did we make any progress at all? But it's like, no, I think 100% they did, because they're, like, as she says, now we're awake, which is essentially like, now we've both...
Your eyes are open now.
Yeah,
you see what's
now
what.
We've shared our deepest, darkest thoughts and temptations and secrets with each other, and now all we really can do is move forward together. And she's like, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, oh, it's a magic pill now and I'm all good and I'll never have... There's never even ever going to be any temptation. But as the great Martin Scorsese, who said this was like one of the best films of the 90s, had on his top 5 list, he has this great quote about like, it's about learning to take things day by day, not, it's about relationships on so many levels, but it ultimately, comes back to that of like, all you can do is kind of both hope for in any relationship, whether you're married or not, is to maybe be somewhere near the same page and like carry forward together. But that's pretty much that's where it leaves us, and it's still ambiguous in as much as like, I don't know if they're gonna make it. I don't know if I care that they make it, but it's one where and I feel like a lot of people, you bring your own shit to it, and definitely the way I watched this when I was like 13, where it was more the salaciousness of it, the like, oh my god, I can't believe there's this like weird mansion sex scene thing, and like Nicole Kidman's like totally naked like so many times in this movie, like not being able to get over just the like whoa factor of it. And then I go back to it over and over again over the last several years, and it's like the more relationships I've had, the more complications of those relationships I've had, it's like it's it's an incredible movie, and the fact that it was all of those themes were explored, and a lot of stuff that you would theoretically never be able to get across in like a big budget major studio movie that has two of the biggest movie stars in the world at the head of it, and that it kind of fucking works and hangs together. Again, people at the time somewhat split on it. Some people thought it was trash. Some people thought it was like one of his worst movies. But I think, inarguably, over time, it's outlived the reputation it had before it came out, which was like the movie that ruined their marriage and like all of this stuff, and like so much focus on the couple aspect of it. But when you look back at, like, again, the way he filmed it, the whole structure of separating them and keeping them. I mean, the movie physically separates them. The screenplay didn't. It is very much method directing, where I'm like, well, he was just being practical. Like, if they're not on screen together, they're having these separate experiences. I can't have them seeing each other having these experiences.
Yeah.
It's got to linger in their mind. They got to be questioning.
She's got to really be home with the kids whenever he's shooting.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
and
that's
vice
just,
versa.
Yeah.
Presumably. But yeah. I love it. Do you have any more final thought? I think we...
No, I think it's one of those, again, like you say, you bring your own baggage into it, and there's
I feel like there's some people who would watch it and not relate to it at all, or find the couple somewhat. I do get where the wealth factor for some people can be a distancing thing, where it's just like, what do these rich white people have to complain about? Like, what do they really have? You know, they're extremely wealthy, all this other stuff.
Yeah, but money doesn't equal happiness. That's the whole key of it, you can say right there.
That's in there too, and I think
because look at Siegler, he's got tons of money.
If we want to be really cynical about it, it's like, well, why are they a rich, like, Upper West Side couple in New York, and why is he a doctor? Well, so I can set things in gorgeous mansions and like cool apartments, and like it doesn't seem ridiculous. Basically, so I can film nice shit that I want to film.
Right.
I
mean, they could be a poor interracial couple from the east side of Harlem, and the orgy thing could just be in like a burnout factory. It's just not as nice.
Yeah, but it's just not as visually compelling for me.
I mean, I've seen that movie. It's not Eyes Wide Shut. It's like a different movie. It's in the adult section. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different thing. You could take
Brown Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes, that's it.
Nailed it. Podcast over.
Yeah, it's an all backdoor experience, if you know what I mean. Anyway, but the themes are universal. I get that you can argue that now. We argue everything now about like, well, it's not this. It doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about that. Look at what it was at the time. The themes are generational. It keeps going. If you're not able to be honest, talk about things, get it all out there, bear it all, you know, the way that they were going to tear his clothes off, the way that they unmasked him. Because, you know, you got to argue that, like, he was unmasked amongst a room of strangers who all know who he is. He has no idea who they are. If that motherfucker can't tell his wife what he's been up to, he hasn't learned anything.
Right.
Anything.
Anything.
So, you know, it's you know, it was wild redoing it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, actually sitting down and watching it.
And I still feel like we could talk about it for another hour. But
of course.
We must. But
we'll stop it here.
I've never had the balls to full on just be like, let's do a Kubrick series. But I do think I will be incorporating him into 2x2s because a lot of rich texts.
It's a rich tapestry of American cinema.
All right, that was Eyes Wide Shut from the grand old year of 1999. We had a great pairing. This was a great time. This has been your 2x2 retro reviews for the month of July 2021. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for whatever the heck we're doing next, and we'll let you know if you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this chat, maybe we keep the Summer of Sexual Seduction going. Maybe we do another 2x2 with some of our other erotic pairings. Let us know if you want us to do that, or just move it right along to something else, because we can do that too. Yeah. Okay, you can email us, thearkofe@gmail.com. Shout us on Instagram at the Ark of E Network, on Twitter at the Ark of E, or head over to the Facebook where Gavin will answer any and all, full service, whatever you need. Just let him know. I can get you a toe. Get you a toe by 3:30.
You forgot to tell them the one thing that they need to do. You're giving out all of our info and stuff. You forgot to tell them one thing you need to do, Noah.
I'm not gonna do it.
Why not?
No.
Okay, so they don't need to do it. That's
do you want to do it?
I was good. You were good. I was trying to set you up. You're like, "What are you talking about? What do they need to do?" I was just gonna say it.
What do they need to do, Gavin?
Fuck.
We've been the Blanchett brothers, and this has been Eyes Wide Shut. Dun, 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 dun.
And wild things.
Oh, yeah, we did that one too. Where'd she get that outfit? Sluts are us. You stupid bitch!
See, even if I came back, I wouldn't be welcome. My mother's she's breaking her trust. What is it though? What is the one he says? Yeah, you know what? And we didn't say this.
Is, you're dead.
You're dead.
It's just like a bad anime
Did Sam
dub or
Lombardo
something.
rape you?
You're dead. No, the best is the trailer moment from Nev Campbell. Don't touch me. Great line delivery.
With the
good.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
That's the moment though where you're like, oh
shit. What did she? What am I thinking of? When it's not, it's something I can't remember. It's something I'm forgetting. Something about. Well, yeah, we were talking about it. If it does make sense, they probably were fucking the entire time because she does say the one thing she's gonna miss about Blue Bay is him. I didn't think about that. The first thing Denise Richards says is like, that's gonna be the worst thing about like senior year and leaving is like him. He's the only good thing about this. So yeah, they have been fucking the entire time. I meant
we figured it out.
I meant to throw that in there towards the end, but then we moved
3 hours and 15 minutes of the episode.
We
figured it out.
Yeah, we got it. We figured it out, guys. We'll do it. We'll do it again. Color of Night and
I don't know. I gotta find another
Basic
classy.
Instinct.
I said classy.
Oh.
God, I love Basic Instinct. What a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not gonna figure it out right now. We gotta get them to come back for the next thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Then we'll figure it out. All right, we're done.